Okay. Look like we're live, hopefully. Hello, everyone. Okay, I'm just setting up the tournament here. Just getting it pinned. Oh wait, actually it looks like there might be a last second sign up. Wait. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, everyone. Oh wait. Let me just check to make sure that this is... I'm trying something a bit different here. I'm trying to put my stream on my phone so that way I can see. Yep, that works. Okay, we've got one more new participant. Dan Risky. Okay, cool. So, let me actually update this challenge. I'm glad I didn't start it yet because we've got one more. So, let's go and add Dan Risky. Okay, they are added. Let's shuffle up these seeds. Make sure that we've got a fair shuffle there. And we will be good in 1 second. Let me just pull up this on my phone here so that way I can see the live chat. Okay, I think we should be good. Yeah, looks like everything is good to go. Yep, we are now good to go. So I'll start the tournament. And it has begun. Okay. Cool. Okay, so everything's all set here. Welcome to the stream. If you're new to the channel, we do a bunch of retro Yu-Gi-Oh stuff here. Oh, let me actually join the voice chat because we're going to get some co-commentary here. Potentially, we've got Blah in the general chat here, who is a very active user in this Discord, very knowledgeable. So, yeah, I think they were having mic issues, so they might not be able to co-commentate yet. But, yeah, if anyone wants to join and co-commentate, then we are all good here. But yeah, this should be a fun tournament. This is actually bigger than the last Yugi-Kaiba tournament that we had, or not Yugi-Kaiba, Critters local that we had last time. So exciting to see, and happy to have people with us. I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet, so I'm not sure if that's just because it's on my phone or if it's because I'm. Oh wait, did something change again? It looks like we are good to go here. No, I think we're all good. Sorry for the confusion, everyone. This doesn't usually happen, but this is a new thing that we're doing. So we're doing new streams here. So that sort of thing does happen. But yeah, it's should be fun. Let me just check on here. Okay, yeah, there are no chats yet. I just wanted to make sure. I'm doing it a bit differently because the past couple times I've been like streaming on just one screen and pulling up chat on that one screen, and it's been a bit of a mess. So I feel like this will make it a bit easier if I've just got the chat on my phone and can check it that way. So I've got that up here, and hopefully that will make for an easier streaming experience. Hopefully there won't be as many cuts to other things. But if you are looking for retro Yu-Gi-Oh content like this, then that's what this channel is for, and hopefully we'll be able to watch a great Yugi-Kaiba game very soon here. So let's go into some games here. We don't actually have a... Okay, we do have Dump Truck versus PJ Darkness as the first match here. So let's jump into that, watch this Yugi-Kaiba game going on. It looks like they've already started, so it looks like Dump Truck probably attacked a Battle Ox into a Maneater Bug, and then PJ Darkness tried something out of Neo. That ate a Trap Hole. So it looks like Dump Truck is going to set a monster here as well. I'm just going to check to make sure that nothing's going on in the Discord that needs my attention. So maybe I should pull up Discord on my phone as well. But it looks like everything's good. No last minute entries. No like last minute entries. But it looks like Dump Truck's going to get aggressive with the Neo, summing it out, eating a trap hole. So that tells me that that set is probably like, I mean, I don't know. It could be a Manual Bug, but it could also be a Giant Soldier of Stone that they don't want to expose to a monster attacking over. They've already used up one trap hole, so it's not guaranteed that they've got another or like a reinforcements here. So I don't know. It's very curious to see. We'll have to check to see. Oh, wow. Komori Dragon. That's very cool. So that means that PJ Darkness is likely on a Dragons deck, which is a deck that's been very hit or miss in this format. In my opinion, it just, you know, you've got to draw into your Lord of D Flute and then some good dragons to bring out. But Komori's a cool option. You know, it's smaller, so it's not quite as much of a brick in your hand. And it can be used to do things like poke into a Manual Bug, which I think is a very clever play from PJ Darkness. They had the read that it was the Manual Bug, and it did work out. And they've got a Soul Exchange to follow it up with for a Summoned Skull, which I think is really dope here. They can't go to battle because... no battle. Wait, can I message them? Private chat. They can't go to battle because Soul Exchange here. So, okay, it looks like they realized it. Yeah, they realized it. They got it, yeah. Soul Exchange, you can't attack the turn that it's used. So, yeah. But it's still a very good position for PJ to be in because they get to clear that Manual Bug, which is such a problem. Dump Truck does have the Fisher, though, so they are able to get rid of that Summoned Skull, which, you know, is a risk of Soul Exchange. You know, you're just left with a monster on field that's very vulnerable to things like Fisher and other removal options here. Let's just check the Discord to make sure everything's going okay. Looks good. But, yeah, this is a pretty standard sort of board position. It looks like PJ Darkness is just going to wall up a bit more. And that makes sense because if you're unfamiliar with Yugi-Kaiba, it's the first competitive format of the game, and there's no Heavy Storm available. The only forms of spell and trap removal are things like Dispel, Armed Ninja, and Trap Master. And that's, well, Remove Trap as well, but Remove Trap is pretty bad. So it looks like that was a Giant Soldier that they set. They flipped it up, baited out that trap hole. Giant Soldier died to the trap hole, so now they can hit into the Neo. Very good play here on Dump Truck's part. We'll have to see whether PJ Darkness can overcome it. It looks like they don't really have many monsters left because I don't think they brought one out last turn. Oh, but it looks like they've got a Lodge in here that will get over the Neo, so very cool to see. They're going to attack in to the Neo with the Lodge in there. Dump Truck will take 100 damage, and it's going to pass back to them. And it looks like they're just going to wall up a little more. And that's one of the things that you really can do in this format. You know, monster stats really matter a lot. And being able to stick a Giant Soldier of Stone on field can be very powerful. If that's a Manual Bug, this can also be very powerful. It will eat the Lodge in here. But it looks like it is indeed the Stone. Reinforcements, however, is a way to get over that Stone. And Reinforcements is one of the best trap cards in the format because of this. Oh, I just got pinged here. Okay. Ooh. We got 2 potential last-minute entries. Let's see. We've got. Okay. DK is here in the voice chat here. The first match has started. Let me check if Dan Risky and Ghost have started as well. If it's just one match that started, I'm okay potentially adding 2. Let me just check here. If both matches have started, though, I feel kind of bad about that. But, yeah, I think we can fit in 2 more. Yeah, okay. I'm going to make an executive decision here. And, yeah, I think, yeah. I'll add you to 20. Yeah, so I'll add DK and Slushy to challenge. But hello, DK, how you doing? Oh, can I actually do that? Can I undo it when the tournament is mid-tournament?
It's just challenge. Yeah, you can do it like I'll have to look it up real quick. You can... Let me see.
Yeah, I'm first going to
There's...
check Slushy's list to make sure it's legal. I'll do that
Yeah,
not on
sure.
screen, so that way no one gets to get a peek of their deck list here. But yeah, let's see here.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's an interesting deck. Okay, yep, that is fine. Okay, Slushy is all good in terms of. Yeah, just checking on how to add to challenge.
Yeah, you can go to participants. And then when you scroll down, it says reset the bracket.
Oh, okay. Will that also undo the standings that are there now? Because we can just add you to the tournament in a way that like doesn't disrupt the current matches going on.
I think what you have to do is reset the bracket, but
I'll
there are
reset the
no
bracket.
standings. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll reset the bracket because yeah, I can just, and this is all the same as it was before. Let's go to participants. I just need to add Slushy Water and DK. Yeah. And then I can also like manually arrange the games that are already going as well. So let me just check the bracket to make sure that the yes, the brackets are currently matched up the way they are. So yeah, I can start the tournament, and there we go. Okay, cool. I assumed you had a valid deck list, DK. I hope you do.
I haven't logged in, and I don't know. I will send it.
Okay, cool.
In a minute.
Okay, and it looks like Ghost and Dan Risky are also matched up because they're Rain Dance and Boy Daniel. Okay, cool. So we've got everyone all set here, and let's see if we've gotten anything in the chat. No messages in chat on my phone. Let me check the chat on here. Okay, Clody says that. Okay, I'm seeing that on my phone. Okay, cool. Yep, we can edit by hand, but luckily it worked out. Yeah, so luckily it worked out fine.
Okay, that's me with a soul.
Yes, we are all good to go. Okay, we're good to go now.
All right, so I will have to log in, and I will have to get off voice chat because like my internet connection can't handle because.
But thanks for popping in and helping with this. Okay, we're
yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
And good luck in the locals here.
Yes, thank you. So bye. We'll see each other later.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so after a brief hiccup, we're all good in the tournament now. So yeah, I don't see too many people in chat, but if people want to vote on the match they want to see potentially, like right now we're watching Dan Risky and Ghost of 41st Past, but there are plenty of matches going on right now. So, you know, we've got some other options here to watch. I do know that the previous game we were watching actually had a Dragons deck. So actually, let's watch that because that's pretty hype seeing a Dragons deck in the running here. So it looks like we're on to game 2. Sad that we missed the end of the last game, but it looks like PJ Darkness did win that last game there. So I wonder if they were actually able to pull off the Dragons combo because that's really cool to see if they did. So hopefully that is what happened. But yeah, we've got a big attack going on here. It looks like they may be close to winning this game as well. Wow, this is a big life point deficit. So, yeah, and they've got... Oh! The tribute set of what is likely a Blue Eyes White Dragon. That is beautiful. And then next turn, they could potentially flip it up. And, I mean, this is great. Oh, but the Soul Exchange on the Blue Eyes for a tribute set of Dump Truck's own. Wow. That's pretty cool. They did have to kind of tribute set there because, you know, if it's face up on field, Raigeki does do it. And unless they do have a trap hole for the Neo here. It's Yugi-Kaiba format, so you're never truly out of it until you're out of it. But this is looking a bit bad for Dump Truck here. It looks like they're going to play a bit defensively, setting one and passing back to their opponent. And it looks like PJ Darkness is going to match that. Yep, and they're going to flip up a Man-Eater here, which means that they very likely have like a Waboku set to use up in case they need it. But yeah, this is a pretty intense one here. And I do feel like a lot of games in Yugi-Kaiba are quite intense, so it's cool to see. So PJ's got to think a bit here, because if, you know, they're figuring out, like, I mean, you got to just bait out the traps that, you know, Dump Truck has from this point. And interesting that they're going for a Fisher on the Man-Eater. I don't know if there are many lethal lines from the position that they're in right now, so I'm not sure if that Fisher would necessarily necessary. But it is a good way just to clear the field, I guess. And they've got a trap hole to follow it up with, so like this, I guess it makes sense from their perspective. They're just trying to clear the field so that way they can get in for some damage. And Swords is pretty good at stalling for a bit, I guess, here. I'm usually in favor of like saving Swords for like when you actually need it, but I don't think that they're in a bad spot, so I do think that this is ultimately fine. It is a bit worrying, though, because Dump Truck very likely does have a Waboku set here. So you've got to eat through that Waboku before you can actually deal the lethal amount of damage that you need to Dump Truck. And Clody's gone through some very powerful spells like Raigeki, Reborn, Change of Heart. All those are gone now. So, you know, the shoe may be on the other foot here, and Dump Truck could potentially recover from this major deficit. They're going to bring out a Battle Ox here, attacking for 1,700, and they're closing the gap one attack at a time. They know that Raigeki is gone, so all they've got to worry about is like Dark Hole, and that Swords will be nice. It will clear the Man-Eater bug there. Man-Eater bug is a mandatory effect, so it will have to target itself here. Looks like we've got some other matches going on at the same time as this, so very exciting to see all the matches of this tournament going on. They're just going to bring out a Lajin here, I guess, likely to clear the, or I guess in case Dump Truck can clear the Swords, you just have this as an option. But they're not going to attack in, which I think is kind of wise, because they figure that Dump Truck probably has a reinforcement set. However, you do kind of got to bait out that at some point. So, like, you might want to just use Lajin to bait that out in the meantime here. It's a bit tricky of a situation, but it might be worth doing. They're just going to wall up a little bit more, and I feel like they likely have a reinforcement set here to deal with this Battle Ox. And they're going to go to damage step, it looks like. They're going to go to damage step. Dump Truck does have a reinforcements here. PJ Darkness also has a reinforcements. So the Lajin will be able to get over the Battle Ox. And 1,000 life points is a kind of risky spot to be. It looks like Dump Truck's going to bring out a Neo, and this is very risky unless they've got a Fisher. And that Fisher will be able to clear the Lajin. And if you'll notice here, this set that's closest to their deck, it's been their set like on field for a long time here. And so it is very likely the Waboku that they were sitting on earlier. If it's not Waboku, they're a madman. And, you know, kudos to them for playing really boldly here. But the gap between these two duelists has really closed over the course of this game. And this is really cool to see. And this is why I really like Yugi-Kaiba format, because, you know, it's just, you're always in it until you're out of it. And even if you drop down to a super low amount of life points, decks can still survive going through that. So Dump Truck's going to fire a Pot of Greed here, drawing 2, one of the best cards in the format. And, you know, this is looking very good. Both duels are also at a pretty low deck count, which is good to know because it can sort of allow them to keep track of what the other still has left in deck. And that's one of the coolest things about Yugi-Kaiba format, in my opinion, is that you really can keep an eye on, you know, what your opponent's used up, what they've still got left. And because the common core between these decks is so similar, you can really just know what they're doing. Investing with Cole says that they're busy doing not nerd stuff, but wanted to check in. I appreciate you checking in. Hopefully you'll be able to hop back into this nerd stuff when you're done with the not nerd stuff. But yeah, Neo the Magical Swordsman is super cool. I definitely agree. I go back and forth on whether Battleox or Neo is the cooler swordsman, cooler 1700. But I do think that it's very neat. Oh, wow. That play backfired on PJ quite a bit with the stop defense into the Maneater bug. But to be fair, I mean, Dump Truck would have flipped the Maneater bug either way. I think PJ could have done stop defense before setting. I wasn't quite paying the most attention this turn. But yeah, I think you generally want to do stop defense before you set a monster, just in case it is Maneater. That would force Dump Truck to pop their own Maneater. But, I mean, honestly, I think the Dump Truck probably had the momentum at that point anyways, given how many power cards PJ Darkness had gone through, and how bricky the Dragon deck can be. I mean, you saw that near the end there, with the Lords of D's popping up in a really inopportune time. So, you know, it's 1-1 here. Pretty intense game. What would stop defensive hit? It would just have hit the Maneater bug in case, you know, if they had an empty field. So I didn't quite pay attention to that turn. I think they set their monster that turn before going for the stop defense. But the stop defense would have hit a Maneater bug. And if you flip up the Maneater bug when your opponent's just got the monsters on field, you have the bug pop the bug, which is pretty good. Pretty good trade. And maybe PJ could have lasted one more turn because they would have had a monster on field. Who knows what it would have been. Yes, Dumbledore, there is actually a way to do that. We host tournaments a lot in the YGO from Zero Discord, which I left a link to in the description of this stream. So hop on over to that Discord if you want to be notified on future tournaments in Yugi-Kaiba and all the other formats that I cover on this channel. So we'll be happy to have you playing in these tournaments. The more the merrier. And also, you know, outside of the tournaments, the Discord's just a great place to find games in these formats, just in general. There are also some other Discord servers that do also host these tournaments. Things like Format Library also host formats across the board, and they've occasionally hosted like Yugi-Kaiba and stuff like that. So those are also great places to join. And you can find links to those servers in the YGO from Zero Discord server. You just have to look a little bit. But I can also link them after the stream is done if you're interested as well. So, yeah, hop on over there. But yeah, Neo versus Battleox, the battle for the ages. This is shaping out to be a pretty interesting game. That Swords is putting in a fair amount of work. And it's one of the reasons why Dispel does see play in this format, just because Swords is so powerful here. But it looks like that set is not a reinforcements. Even if it was a reinforcements, this wouldn't even be the worst trade for Dump Truck to do. Because, you know, you still got the swords up, so you're not at risk of, like, dying anytime soon. Since they used the Fisher on the Lodgin, that set might not actually be a Maneater bug. It might be like a Giant Soldier of Stone. Setting 2 here is kind of risky. It plays into, like, Raigeki or Dark Hole a bit. But, yeah. Yeah, the really smart play would be to crash with the Neo instead of attacking over with Lodgin. I think that does make sense. I think that would have been probably the better play. But, yeah, this play worked out as well for them. And that Soldier of Stone will put in some work. It looks like we've got another person in the voice chat. It looks like it's Blah. So if they get the microphone working, we will likely have some co-commentary, which will be great. So hopefully they can get that working. And it looks like they're switching the Giant Soldier to attack here with no back row. Wow, that is risky. That is a risky play here, and this is the punish if PJ does have something like a Neo to hit over it. What's the ruling of this format for Swords holding up Castle of Dark Illusion? Unfortunately, Castle of Dark Illusion is not in this format, so unfortunately you can't do the iconic play that Yugi did against that one guy from Duelist Kingdom, Pain, where you sort of hold up the Castle of Dark Illusions in the flotation ring and then use it to crush your opponent's monsters. In Critter format, that is a valid rulings question, but unfortunately here it's not quite legal yet. But yeah, that's one of the most complicated rulings in this format that a lot of people do get wrong. And it looks like they're going to go for a Judge Man, which eats a trap hole here, which is the risk behind this play. It's high risk, high reward play to go for the Judge Man like that instead of just attacking in with the Maneater bug first for some chip damage. But I see why they did it. And the fact that they are on the Judge Man means that they're likely on a very heavy Soul Control deck. And it looks like it's paying off for them here potentially if they've got another Tribute Monster in hand. And clearing that Manual Bug is very nice here. And they're going to go for the Summon Skull. This makes, Panic, that's the name. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah, this play worked out really well for them. PJ does have the Dark Hole, though, to clear that Summon Skull. And we're in a very intense situation here. Basically a top deck war. And having to trap hole a Komori Dragon means that Dumptruck likely does not have many monsters in hand they can use. So we're getting pretty intense here. I feel like they probably are running the 3 Summon Skull and Judge Man is the 4th. Because that is generally why you see Judge Man seeing play. Judge Man does technically have 1500 defense, so maybe upon seeing Komori Dragon in PJ Darkness's deck, they're like, okay, I'm going to play Judge Man's because then I can set them, Komori can attack into it and sort of tie there. But I feel like Dumptruck probably does have the 3 Summon Skulls in the deck. Yeah, it is Komori Dragon. We've got a hype Dragon deck here. Dragon deck did actually manage to win game 1, although we didn't actually manage to catch it on camera, which is unfortunate. I think after this game concludes, I'm just going to run through the replay just to see how that game 1 ended, to show off to all of y'all in case it did end in a flute play. But the trap hole on the Lord of D means that we're less likely to see a flute play here. But this is a very intense game. We've got 850 life points versus 1750 life points. Only in Yugi-Kaiba format do you see games this intense. And that's why I love this format. And I'm happy that we get to show this off in this tournament here. But this has been a pretty great one. PJ Darkness is going to set another here and pass back to us. I'm just going to check. Okay, no one has tagged me for reporting any games here, which is good. I don't want to miss a game result because I want to make sure the tournament goes in a timely manner. But this is actually, manning your bug on this field is honestly not bad because you manage to just keep getting in the chip damage. And given that Dumptruck has used up 3 trap holes, it means that set is very likely to be a manning your bug of PJ Darkness's own, which could be disastrous for Dumptruck here. Because if PJ flips up the manning your bug and just attacks in, interesting. They're not going to do it, which means that they might not have a way to get defensive here. That's very interesting. I'm very curious what this set is. They're going to go for a trap hole on the Battle Ox. So, yeah, I don't know what this set is. I mean, if it's man your bag, I think you just go for it and try and get in the chip damage, especially if you've got the trap hole. Yeah, sorry. I mean, the games are so compelling, Cole. I'm sorry that this is sort of distracting you from what you actually have to do. But, I mean, these are so intense. And this... Oh, they're going for the Waboku here. Oh, a Login! They're playing around Trap Hole. They didn't actually have to do this given the 3 trap holes in Grave, but I guess they didn't notice the 3 trap holes in Grave, which just shows how important it is to check Graveyard. There actually is not any Graveyard recursion besides Reborn in this format, and that's why it's so important to check the graveyards, because once a card is used, it's not coming back. And that's what makes these games so intense, because, you really do know what is left in your opponent's deck. And that's a really unique experience because, in some future formats, they're, heavily, sort of determined by mirror matches where the, optimal deck list is pretty much determined. So you can kind of do that, but never in Yu-Gi-Oh's history outside of Yugi-Kaiba do you get this level of sort of being able to know exactly what power cards are in your opponent's deck. And that's super, super cool. And it really does lend these games a completely different feel than other formats have. So awesome to see. Hopefully the Waboku won't cost them because, I mean, they could have just summoned the Lodging without fear. I think they got a little bit too into their own head maybe in terms of this, which does happen in these very high stakes games because, this is on the edge. Either duelist could lose in a second. And in games like this, you really can sort of get really caught in your own head and sort of potentially run into some misplays that can really cost you. And the first 2 years of Synchros are really cool, I admit. And Dumptruck did win that match. So very good games here. Unfortunate to see Dragons not take the dub here. But it was very cool to see the match. I will input this real quickly so that way we can get the tournament running a little bit. So Dumptruck did win 2-1. Very cool to see. And that's the first match of the tournament done. Now, I want to, before we go into the other matches here, which we could do, I do want to just quickly view the replay here, just so that way we can potentially see just how that game 1 ended, because PJ did win that. And I think it would be really cool if we actually get a flute play on camera. But yeah, Fisher does seem like it would be too weak and outclassed by the other cards, but it is really a powerful card. And the reason for that is because it's at 3. And removal is at such a premium in this format. Removal is at such a premium in this format that people are playing Soul Exchange, which, does get them another card on field to go with it. But it is kind of an awkward card because it does brick, and it does sort of, brick in more ways than one, because you're bricking on the Soul Exchange and the tribute monsters that you play with it. So the fact that Soul Control is such a powerful deck in this format, I think speaks to the power of Fisher, because the reason why Soul Control is so powerful is that you do need removal, and Fisher is another form of removal that can be very, very strong. So I do think it is one of these staple cards in this format. Definitely not as powerful as things like Raigeki or Dark Hole or Reborn, but it is definitely up there. And so it looks like PJ did not win the first game through a flute, unfortunately. Sad to see, but that does happen, and it's part of why I'm not the biggest fan of dragons. But yeah, no loss in locals unless you agree to rated gameplay beforehand. Yeah. So, these are generally casual events. So yeah, I'll just undo, the match result there. So this one, let's undo that. Oh yeah, and also my current format for the Discord is actually Critter. So yeah, so it's kind of, you can't really report these in other formats here. But anyways, we've got a couple choices for what to watch next. So we could watch the game between Rain Dance and Boy Daniel. We could watch Locked Up Water versus Gabiba Balandi, or we could watch the game between, if I can find it, man, there are a lot of games going on right now. Well, I know that Soul and DK are playing a game here, unless that ended, but I didn't see anything about that ending. Oh, there they are. So we got a couple options here to watch. So let me know which ones you want to watch in the comments. I think I'm just going to, while I wait, I'm just going to dive into this one. But yeah, Cole says, I've played some decks with super strong control monsters that didn't play Torrential or Dark Hole. You never wanted to destroy your own field. Are there any decks that prefer Fisher to Dark Hole? In this format, not really. This format, you kind of just want to play all the removal cost cards, because they're just all so good. And I guess stall decks maybe, because they don't really want to deprive their own field. But with stall decks, you kind of do just want all the removal options, because you can maneuver your field in a way so that your opponent just is on all monsters and you're not, and you can save the Dark Hole for that. But yeah, this is an interesting game to jump into. We've got set 5 on both sides. We see 2 Trap Masters. It looks like Rain Dance did win the first game here. But yeah, this is very interesting. We see Boy Daniel on Wicked Worm Beast. Always hyped to see this card. I love the Wicked Worm Beast. Such a cool card in this format. It means that Boy Daniel is likely on Worm Control. Oh, Okazi! Are we about to see the end of the game? Are we about to see a burn finish here? Burn is also a deck that you do kind of want to set your burn spells, because you can just go for major damage at the end. So it looks like that will indeed be the end. It's 250 off, but I assume that they've got another burn spell in hand. So very cool to see the end of this game. I want to feature Rain Dance in the future here, because, I mean, this is likely the end of the game. If that set is a Just Desserts, this is just over, because there's no way to clear a Spar Trap before the main phase here. Yeah, pretty much every deck is running 3 Fisher, and all the Power 5. That's the core with this format. You could maybe have some experimentation with that ratio, but you know, there just aren't enough powerful cards in this format to, like, deviate from that. Yeah, the Final Flame OCG art is very interesting here. Very cool. I do think it's... Oh, yep, there's the Okazi. That will be the end of the game there. And, wow. Awesome to see Burn win. I think that's really cool to see. I love the Burn deck, by the way. So this is a 2-0 for Ghosts of 31st Past. But, yeah. Burn is really cool. I think it's also, like, very underrated. I think Burn, honestly, could be tier 1. The reason why people don't really consider it very good is because you got to play all these, like, bricks. Things like Final Flame, Okazi, stuff like that, which isn't necessarily the best, because if you do draw them at inopportune times when you really need gas, it can come back to bite you. But setting them as bluffs is honestly not bad because there's very few cards in this format that can clear them. So, like, you know, they do get some value there. And the fact is that many people play this format, like, saving their Wobokus for when they really need them. And that sort of playstyle is heavily punished by Burn. Burn also, like, hard counters one of the biggest tier 1 decks in this format and one of the most annoying decks to deal with, which is Stall Mill. If you're playing Burn, you just, like, assemble enough damage to kill your opponent over the course of the game, just drawing through your deck. And Stall Mill will generally let you draw enough cards to draw into your Burn spells and get enough damage in to win. So, yeah, I think Burn is pretty awesome. Yeah, I know. Listen, I admit I'm a degen, okay? I have tried labbing, like, Empty Jar in pretty much every format that it's been legal. I've tried, like, labbing these Burn decks. I mean, I won the Treasure format tournament that we hosted back in the Discord a couple months ago on Burn. So I'm 100% a degen. I admit it. So, yeah. Oh, okay, this is actually interesting sort of use of Soul Exchange. They're just clearing up their back row. Very funny. It is kind of, you know, a downside to playing the Soul Control deck and just setting 5 is that you do kind of need to clear up back row space at some point. And you can easily, like, clog up your back row like that. But, yeah, worst case scenario, you can actually use Soul Control just to target. I believe in this format. I mean, that's how I've been playing it. So, yeah. But, yeah, that is how it goes. This is very interesting. So, Gobi Bulandi has won a game against Locked Up Water here. But it looks like they're going through their entire deck. So, this might be a Stall Mill match. I don't see any Ultimate Offerings, though. So, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just a very slow sort of Soul Control match here. And Soul Control matches can go a long way. Is there any way to save your monster? No, there's no way to save the monster after Soul Exchange is played. There's actually no counter traps in Yugi-Kaiba. The only real interaction that you have on your opponent's turn are Trap Hole, Waboku, Reinforcements, and Ultimate Offering. And that's it. So it makes for a very interesting dynamic, and it is one of those formats where, like, you do kind of need to know the entire relevant card pool. So that way you know, like, what you actually need to play around, because there's very few things that you actually need to play around at any given time. Interesting, the Tribute set. So that likely is probably a Reaper of the Cards, although it does feel bad that they have to tribute over the Summoned Skull here for that. But Reaper of the Cards can be very strong against, like, Ultimate Offering, which they, you know, Gabiba Balani may be playing. Ultimate Offering seeing a lot of sort of new play as people have realized how awesome it is. Not sure why they did that play. Did they not have that clear? I mean, you have to have the read that it's a Reaper there, right? Like, maybe they're trying to bait them into just targeting the Waboku. Two-pronged attack is around, but two-pronged attack is also, like, really terrible. Like, in my guide to Yugi-Kaiba format, I actually, like, mentioned two-pronged attack, and I sort of talk about the few cases where it can be useful. Like, stall decks could potentially use it since they often find their field filled up with a lot of monsters and another form of removal. If your opponent activates, like, Raigeki, you can chain two-pronged attack, pop your own monsters, pop one of theirs. But that's still a 3-for-2 trade. And that's, like, in optimal scenarios. So, like, generally two-pronged attack is not going to see play. It's, like, way too costly for what it actually does. And in this format where, like, monsters are so important to keep on field, you just can't afford to pay that. It looks like the Mystical Elf is here, so Gabibu Balani may be on an element of stall Mill here. They're going to attack him with Reaper, trying to go for game, but it looks like that is another Waboku. Didn't Waboku get activated this turn already? That is not right. I'm pretty sure that was this turn, right? Let me... alright, I need to send... I mean, it's accepted game state at this point, but, I mean, it's fine. It's accepted game state, I guess. But, yeah, 3 worst cards in Yugi-Kaiba. Skull Servant, Cheerful Coffin. Now, Cheerful Coffin actually has some fringe use with, going for Reborn. But, yeah, Skull Servant's pretty bad, like, the weakest monster in this format. Honestly, you could potentially do things like some of the fusions, like Flame Ghosts or Cherubin Knight, I think it's called, because those are generally pretty bad. Because, like, you have to play worse cards to actually bring them out, so you're never actually going to bring them out. But, yeah. Stall decks generally run 43 cards, because, like, you can afford to do it, and, like... It also sort of covers the Pot of Greed activation a little bit, so that way you can still use Pot of Greed and wind out ahead. But yeah, 43 is like the general ratio that most people see in this format. So, it looks like this is between 2... You can activate 2 Waboku, but the reason I say it's accepted game state is because the Mystical Elf won't actually die there, if Waboku had been activated. So that's why it's like kind of messed up. Like, if the Mystical Elf hadn't been sent to grave, then, you know, that wouldn't have mattered. Either way, it gets cleared, like, if Gabibo, like, activates Dark Hole the next turn, then, like, you know, yeah, that does work. But, yeah, it's kind of weird. It was kind of weird there. So, yeah. Do a 60-card Yugi-Kaiba format. You can definitely do a 60-card stall deck, or, like, oh, you mean like limiting the card pool down to 60 cards? You could do that. I mean, honestly, the card pool is already kind of there. Like, yeah, I think there are less than cards. I think there are less than 60 cards. Yeah, there is enough to be Highlander. I have played Yugi-Kaiba Highlander. I haven't shown it off on the channel because I don't generally show off like alt formats. But Yugi-Kaiba Highlander is very fun. It's like very much just the essence of anime, because you have to play a lot of the like less good cards, but the cards that, you know, you'd typically associate with the anime. And so you're playing things like Blue Eyes Not in Dragon decks. You're playing like a bunch of like weaker beaters like Ryukishin Powered and like so it's really cool. Oh, where you're forced to do 60 card decks. I didn't mute on Discord. You should be able to hear me through Discord, and you should also be able to speak. I don't see any volume coming from you. So yeah, I don't know. Your mic must still be wrong. I heard DK0 in the channel earlier. So, okay. So where you're forced to do 60 card decks, that would be interesting, but I would probably only do it if it's Highlander, because I do think the 60 card decks with the Highlander stuff makes it really cool. But yeah, I think like 60 card decks, like with the generic cards would just sort of lean towards Stall Mill even more, because Stall Mill is playing like hard destructions, which can get them in the game. And I mean, I don't know, maybe Stall Burn would actually wind up on top, so that would be interesting to see there. But that would honestly be just a format of long periods of stalling, and that is a function of Yugi-Kaiba already. Like, that does happen, but it's not necessarily the most riveting gameplay to see. But this should be a pretty good one here. I haven't really been commenting on the game itself so far, but yeah, it's looking like a pretty standard Yugi-Kaiba game here, back and forth. Oh, popping the Trapmaster is pretty nice. Trapmaster can be a pretty annoying, but yeah, it can come up. Like, I think a lot of decks have like gone away from Trapmaster, but yeah, Yugi-Kaiba, but you're allowed 1 card from any format. That would be very funny. I'm actually not sure which card I'd pick. What would be the best card to add to Yugi-Kaiba format for the craziness? Hello, welcome to the voice chat, Cole.
Yeah, I'm just checking to see if Discord is working or if it's just him.
Yeah, it's working. I think, like, Blah was having microphone issues earlier, so, like, I think that's probably what it is. But yeah, I'm very curious how Yugi-Kaiba format, but you're allowed to add 1 card would work.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of what you would even, like, I'm thinking, like, Dark Arm Dragon, but probably something even stronger than that.
Yeah, I mean, Dark Arm Dragon, you have 3 Lajin, so it could potentially work out. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe, like, a powerful Xyz monster. Like, if you've got 2 level 4s, you can just go into it. Like, I'm not sure what Xyz monster would be best, though.
Yeah, like, set Mystical Elf, next turn summon Lajin, go into the...
Yeah, and then you're set. And that'd be super interesting. Like, there are some very strong rank 4s out there. So that could definitely do it. Pendulums are kind of out because there's no point if you just have 1. Synchros are kind of out because you need a tuner, and there's no tuners in this format. Link monsters could be something you could do. Like, access code would be funny, but I think that you need 4 effect monsters, right? Or like 3+ effect monsters, so that wouldn't really work as well.
I'll tell you what, post it in your Discord. I'm sure a group effort, somebody could come up with the craziest card.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I'll post it after the stream, so that way I don't have too many screens on here at once. But I am excited to see what people come up with for that, because, you know, people have a much broader knowledge of the Yu-Gi-Oh card pool in later formats than I do. So.
Okay, Blah, we heard you do a duck sound effect.
Yeah.
That works.
Are you in? Testing Blah?
Might just be something boring like Blackluster Soldier.
Yeah, Blackluster Soldier would be... Well, you need the... Oh, these are... Okay, I know what these are. These are the, like, Discord sound effects that you can do in the voice channel. So yeah, these aren't actually tied to the mic. Okay, we've got a card destruction from Gaviba Balandi, which could mean that they're on the stall mill sort of strat, as that deck does play card destructions. But we didn't see an ultimate offering out of them game 2, so I don't actually know what that means. But, yep, they... Oh, those are some good hits there. Wow. Those are some really good hits. Mic is working, but not working. RIP. I can at least see your comments in the YouTube live chat. And I've been trying to, like, sort of answer them as quickly as I see them. I know there's some delay between the stream and the actual comments themselves. But, yeah. You can't actually activate Waboku in the damage step. So, no. Yeah. No wab in. Okay, it looks like, yeah. Okay, this works.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to flip it before, or I don't know.
Yeah, you got to be careful in this format with, like, you got to always ask for responses, because Waboku plus reinforcements is such a common interaction that, like, you know, it will.
But I guess that means he gets his reinforcements back.
Yeah, which is good. Like, and, you know, some players would not be as kind, you know. Like, there are people who would definitely be like, oh, well, you know, you didn't give me time to activate Waboku, and you did activate reinforcements, so, like, you know, you lose the reinforcements.
Yeah, back when I was, like, actually, I was not an admin, but I was a mod on Dueling Network, but I was, like, 12, I was, like, the youngest one, so I got removed for being too immature.
Oh.
But yeah, I remember like trying to learn like most things, because problem solving card text had come out by that point.
Yeah.
So everything was pretty simplistic. The only thing was like they were like, okay, here's this like 5-page college paper about the damage step.
Yeah, and the damage step does not get any easier going back, because by that point they'd at least like laid out, you know, the general stuff about it. But back then, like, it's the Wild West. Like, I have a deep respect for people who have gone back and, like, combed through the old, like, judge files on the damage step to figure out exactly how this stuff worked in retro formats. Because it does work slightly differently in a lot of these formats. There's, like, you can only do 1 chain in the battle step.
I do remember something like that.
Yeah, and so people figured that out. Then that changes later, and then there's, like, restrictions on, like, what exactly you can activate in the battle step, and, like, it's wild. I mean, I know there are restrictions nowadays on, like, what you can activate in the damage step, But like retro formats, I think blow that out of the water with some of their rulings.
Yeah, going off my memory, it was something like there's 7 phases in the damage step, and it's like the first stage, I don't know what that is. Second step, monsters are flip face up, and
yeah, it's like
third step is your last chance to use honest and stuff.
yep,
Or
you
maybe
got
that's
damage calc, damage.
Fourth is damage calc. Fifth one is effects activate like gores and stuff. Sixth is when the monster's actually destroyed, and I think that's also when flip effects trigger.
Yeah.
It's whole, and 7 is when they're sent to the graveyard. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's wild. I used like the Yugi-Pedia page on the damage step to figure that out for the like more modern stuff. But it's still confusing. Like I still get confused about this sort of stuff. So yeah, one of the nice things about going back and going through these formats is I feel like it's given me like a deeper understanding of some of the nitty-gritty rules that I never quite knew well in Yu-Gi-Oh. Because you kind of need like if you're trying to be an authority on these sorts of formats, like you need to actually have these rulings under your belt. So I feel like since I'm like one of the only YouTubers who actually covers these formats, like I need to at least be a voice of authority on this sort of stuff. But even then, I'm nowhere near as close to having a mastery of these rulings as like some of the people over on Format Library have. Like they know this stuff a lot better than I do. So I do defer to them. Arm Ninja. That's very interesting. But it can be good to bring in case you know your opponent's setting a bunch of spells in the back row. But yeah. Looks like we lost Blah, unfortunately. But Blah, I can still see your chats in the YouTube stream. So if you post there, then I will. Oh, wow. That Raigeki is insane here. That's really good. That's a 1-for-4 trade. That's about as good as it gets.
I'm on like 15-second delay.
Yeah, for the YouTube.
I guess
stream.
I could just pull up Dueling Book.
Yeah, you can pull up Dueling Book. Like just watch it.
Have an account.
Yeah, you have to have an account, but it's very easy to make. Like it's free, and yeah, you can just use whatever email you want to. So you don't need to use like an email that you actually care about.
Quick, do a 15-second advertisement for Dueling Book. It's easy to sign up. You can use any. Give us an ad.
Yeah, so it's easy to sign up. It's very easy to make a ton of decks. You get to play people for free. It does have its issues here and there, like with lag and stuff. But it's really the best resource to use when playing these old retro formats because it is manual. So you can manually sort of, play whatever rule set you want, which does actually come up in a lot of these formats as rulings have changed. So it's, in my opinion, the best sort of tool to use when playing these formats, even though it does have its issues. So that's my pitch. That's my pitch for it. Sign up if you're interested in playing these. It looks like okay. I thought that someone might have.
Travis is right. You can run. You can run Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Is Red Eyes in Yugi-Kaiba?
Oh yeah, Red Eyes is in Yugi-Kaiba, and Polly is as well. That actually might be the correct answer here, Travis. That's very good. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Finally.
Okay, we've got the Blah on the mic. Welcome to the stream.
Blah blah blah.
Yep. Glad that you could get it working.
Okay.
I'm not like a tech guy, so I wasn't quite sure.
I finally had to reset the entire thing.
Okay, well.
Discord.
Yeah, Discord can be a bit finicky with this stuff, but glad to have you here to co-commentate some of these games because these have been some intense ones so far. We've seen some good stuff.
Sorry, I've been barely paying attention, trying to fix things. Where are we?
So right now we're watching the duel between Gabibo Belandi and Locked Up Water. Game 3, they're both playing like much slower decks, like more stall-oriented decks. Although I'm not quite sure if they're playing like full-on stall mill or not. Yeah, it's kind of interesting in that respect. I feel like they probably are, but like we didn't see Ultimate Offering out of them in Game 2. I didn't see Game 1, so I don't know if that came up. But like, if they're not playing Ultimate Offering, I'm not sure I necessarily count it as a stall mill deck. Or if it is, then they're playing a radically different stall mill build than we've seen so far.
Oh yeah, that was a very interesting because in the future of Yu-Gi-Oh with archetypes, if you wanted a tournament where you said, "Oh, we're banning Infernity, we're banning heroes," that's very easy to do. But I was wondering if anyone came to you saying like let's ban stall decks because they're boring. But then it's like, well, what is running 2,000 defense monsters a stall deck? What you know?
Yeah, it's tough like drawing that line, and whatever line we drew, people would go up to the edge of it and try and play stall probably just to see if it would work. And so like that's why I'm generally in favor of like not doing that sort of thing, or like making like major adjustments to the formats that we play these tournaments in, because I mean, in most cases, there are ways to get around it. Like, Stall Mill's a really annoying deck this format, don't get me wrong. But, like...
Soul Exchange.
Yeah, Soul Exchange for for Summon Skull is pretty good here. This does threaten the Spirit of Harp that's been on field for a very long time. And Gabiba Balani is almost out of Waboku's. Another card destruction, though.
Mill.
So
it's Stall Mill.
Yeah, it does seem like it's leaning more towards the Stall Mill direction here. But it looks like they're not going... Well, they could potentially go for a Stall Mill victory here. But, Locked Up Water's at 150 life points. I mean, if I was Gabiba Balandi, just switch Spirit to the Harp to attack and hit in. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm behind. He used card destruction to hit 2 card destruction.
Yeah. Card destruction can be a bit of a brick here. But yeah, that's pretty iconic. You wouldn't really see that in any other format besides Yugi-Kaiba. But it does give Gabiba Balani a very powerful sort of all-win condition if they can't do damage. Like, if Locked Up Water does take the aggressive again, Gabiba Balani can just wall up and, try and win through deck out. Because they are ahead. And now that Locked Up Water doesn't have any of their card destructions left, it is viable. Looks like they're going to bring out a Neo here, which I do think makes sense because you're testing for another Waboku, and if Locked Up Water has the Waboku, they switch Spirit to defense. But it looks like that will be actually the end of the game here. Gabiba Balani had a couple of other things. Soul Exchanges didn't really seem that useful for them these games. You missed a lot in game 2. They actually just used Soul Exchange to clear up back row space. They didn't have any monster tribute, but they were like, well, I just got to clear up a back row space to fit in some stuff. But it looks like Gabiba Balandi will win 2-1. So that's Clody in terms of the tournament here. So that will be in. And now we've got our first match of round 2, which is Clody versus Dump Truck. So exciting that we're moving on to the semifinals. Very cool to see. I'm glad we got 8 people to play because this is... a big step up from the Critter Locals, which were a lot less.
Half.
No. I mean, the Critter Locals were great, don't get me wrong. But it's just nice to see these locals sort of growing a little bit more. So yeah, DK and Soul should also be playing still, unless they also wrapped up around the same time, which is possible.
So there's no heavy or harpies in this format?
Yep. Very little spawn trap removal.
So we're seeing the set 5 is mainly... That's actually to play around card destruction.
Yeah. So it can play around card destruction, but also just having bluffs is very good as well. Yeah. So yeah, no need to report losses here again. But yeah. Did DK... Is DK versus Soul over? I don't see them in the dueling chat anymore. So I can't actually tell. I mean, I'm just going to ask. Yeah.
Not to rain on your parade here, but
yeah.
In terms of exciting tournaments, the fact that you said, "Oh, blah, you missed it." In game 2, we used Soul Exchange to clear a back row space. That's not a very exciting game. That's your highlight.
Yeah, that's fair.
No.
I mean, it's not as hype as some of the other moments. But once you play enough Yugi-Kaiba, you get into sort of an interesting headspace here. So it's it may not seem hype, but given how close these games often are and how few cards there are, these sorts of innovative uses of cards can be very, very hype if you're cued in to this sort of format.
So lost. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate the interruption. I just put that in to challenge. So now we're on to the full semifinals. So we've got a bit of a choice here. We've got a chance to watch DK versus Ghost of 41st Pass or Clody versus Dump Truck.
Which stall mill match do you want to watch?
I actually think I want to watch the DK versus Ghost of 31st Past. Because did you see the game that Rain Dance played beforehand? Who is Ghosts? Did you see that game, or are we
too busy punching the computer?
Yeah, that game was they're on a pretty good deck matchup for Stall Mill. Let me just say that. So that's the game that I'd like to see, and I also just like showing off that deck in general that they're playing. So you could probably figure out what they're potentially on.
DK0 gets to get set on fire again.
Maybe that could potentially be what's going on here. But yeah, I'm excited to see it in action. I won't reveal exactly what's going on if people are coming in late to the stream and they want to be surprised. But this should be a potentially good one. And DK0 is on a 40-card deck. Very likely stall. Yeah, so it's a shame that, like, yeah, Worms are like one of those decks where I really like it, and I think that it can perform very well. But it's tough. I think it's firmly in tier 2 just because some decks, like, hard counter it. And if DK did bring Stall Mill, which, you know, DK is the Stall Mill player, then that is one of the decks that, like, hard counter Worms, unfortunately. So, yeah, unclear if they did or not. Like, we didn't actually catch the tail end of that game. So, anything's possible, but they got an image.
Yeah, but you see the lodge in immediately.
Oh, a lot. Yeah, so maybe not Stall Mill. Maybe not Stall Mill.
Also, if you look at his main deck, you'll see it's not 43 cards.
Yeah, 40 cards. It could have been an innovative Stall Mill build, but it looks like it's not going to be that way. Which, honestly, you know, I appreciate less Stall Mill players in the tournament because these are supposed to be, like, relatively short. And so, yeah, so it's good to, like, keep them on the shorter end, and Stall Mill games can go very, very long. But
it's been an hour already.
Oh, yeah, it has been. So we're an hour in the semifinals, so exciting to see.
Yay, this is going to be longer.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be longer, but hopefully for the people in Europe, it doesn't go, like, too long. Because I do know that we've got some people who are playing, you know, pretty late, and, you know, thank you to everyone participating who is. But, yeah, I don't want to keep you up too late, you know.
Nice reinforcements.
Yeah, no, that was a good use of reinforcements there. They are down one copy for, like, battle tricks, like if Rain Dance has reinforcements of their own. But given what deck Rain Dance is playing, they might not actually have that. So, yeah, Soul, you know, you should have just drawn Nebula Meteorite. Yeah, I agree. That would have been the best way to do it. Like, that's the most powerful Yugi-Kaiba card that no one plays is W Nebula Meteorite for sure. But, yeah, that Wall of Illusion is going to be pretty decent here, although DK hasn't normal summoned or set yet. So, they will be able to bring out another monster after this. It looks like they're going to go for a second reinforcements here, using up their copies right away, which is an interesting strategy. They might... No, they didn't. I don't think they caught the tail end of Rain Dance's game, because that's something that you might do if, like, you know that they're on a deck that maybe isn't playing reinforcements. But, yeah, it's very interesting here. That's probably why they thought so much about using the reinforcements or not, because it is a bit of a tricky choice. But it looks like Rain Dance is just going to set one and pass back.
It lets you clear the Wall of Illusion, which will otherwise be annoying until you get out Skull anyway.
Yeah, and even if you do clear it with Skull, like, you're kind of in a tough spot because then Skull bounces to hand, and, like, you've got to use more resources to bring it out again. So I don't think that
also
the oh wow target. Third reinforcements. Yeah, so I don't think that was a bad play. It's just, like, it does mean that I think DK is not on Fissures right now, like, or they haven't drawn into them. That is, they're probably on them, but
yes, a bit not that bad of a spot, but yeah, he's probably going to miss those reinforcements if this is what I think it is.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how that actually works. You know, Rangers are just going to set another card here, and DK might be, you know, kicking themselves because if that is another defender here, they might be out of luck here. If they've got Fissure, they can clear it later. But looks like it's another Giant Soldier Stone, so pretty good there. And I mean, there are ways to clear it later. So it's not like the worst thing in the world, but yeah, seeing those 3 reinforcements in the grave this early, it's going to hurt.
I wanted to take a moment to hype up one of the most... It's like a glitch in the Matrix for this early in Yu-Gi-Oh! Wall of Illusion. Based on... It's a pretty good effect. So in all... You look at every other effect monster, you're like, this thing has to have under 1,000 defense. But instead, they're like, no, it's actually higher defense than any level 4 monster has attack.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's like an interesting card for sure, and something that people have experimented with a lot in the format. I think most of the time people come down against it because, like, in like a standard like Soul Control deck, even though the effect seems really strong, you actually kind of like are incentivized to keep your opponent's monsters on field, because that's where you can use like things like Fissure and other forms of removal, and you can also use things like Soul Exchange on that as well. So in a lot of like Soul Control decks, Wall of Illusion has fallen out of favor, but it sees a lot of play in much more defensive decks. Things like Stall Mill, Stall Burn, like those decks use it a lot, and it can be very, very good in those sorts of situations.
And I guess it's also, is it the only way to manipulate, maybe the wrong word for this, but manipulate hand size for card destruction?
There is Hain as well. And okay. DK0 did actually experiment with Hain at one point. I don't think it worked out well. Which is, you know, Hain is like a card you can use this format, but it's not the best. Oh, Raigeki is a way to clear away that Giant Soldier of Stone. So that's a pretty good option there.
I'm glad you bring up Hain. How does Hain and Wall of Illusion exist in the same format? One has no stats, and it's one use.
Yeah.
Wall of Illusion, yeah.
Easy. Yeah. OCG.
Yeah.
Hain came out first in Volume 3.
Gotcha.
And then Wall of Illusion came out in the EX starter box, which was later in the year.
And that's somewhat mirrored in the TCG releases as well, because Wall of Illusion actually came out in Star Deck Yugi, as opposed to Legend of Blue Eyes. And Hain came out in Legends of Blue Eyes. So, that Fissure's very good there against the Lojin. It means that Rain Dance probably is just trying to maintain their position here, especially given that the reinforcements are gone, and just get in some damage against DK. But it could actually come back to bite them. It might have been the correct choice to crash there with the Lojins instead, but only time will tell. There's another Lojin.
If he has Wabaku set, then that's probably fine.
Oh yeah, Wabaku will come in very clutch here if that is indeed the case. It looks like DK is going to fire a Wabaku of their own. Rain Dance also has the Wabaku there. So it's going to work out pretty good. It's really tough to tell like who's actually, you know, on top here, because the board states are like very even at this point.
Rain Dance just has the one card advantage, and that's really it.
Yeah. And in a like card advantage matters a lot in Yugi-Kaiba. But like, yeah, and when the reinforcements are gone and like you're kind of just relying on like the Fissures and a Dark Hole left for removal. I guess Man-Eater Bug exists as well. It's a bit of a tricky spot to be in. Oh, for you, Cole, Joshua McChristian asked, what would be your one extra card for adding to the format?
The first thing that's coming to mind is Blackluster Soldier Envoy, but I'm sure I can think of something better. I haven't played for like probably 8 years or so. So there's probably a lot of cards I don't know about.
Yugi-Kaiba?
Yeah, if you could add any one card. Yeah. Skelangel would be interesting. Yeah, that would be probably healthiest for the format as a whole. But if you could add like, if we had a tournament where like, you know, people play Yugi-Kaiba but they get to add one card to their deck from any format, then what would the card be?
If I wanted to be like reasonable with, like, I'm saying like, okay, like there's some, this is a very vague restriction, but it's like you can't do something that's unreasonable for that format. I would really like Air Knight Parshath.
Yeah, Air Knight Parshath would be cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't get over the defenders in the format. So it'd be like, you just have to use its battle damage effect. Like,
do you have any equip?
There are equips, so you could do an equip on it. But for a fairy,
you just lose to Fissure so fast.
Is there a fairy equip actually? I can't remember. Yeah, Fissure would
Else
also
light, but it's not here.
Yeah.
So it's for light monsters in general.
Yeah, reinforcements would be able to get Air Knight over a defender, and also it would replace the reinforcements that you use, so that's nice.
Cyber Dragon would get over the 2,000 defenders, and it gets around Trap Hole.
Yeah, Cyber Dragon would change everything here. Like
Cyber Dragon and Mobius the Frost Monarch.
Yeah, Mobius would also make things different. Honestly, any form of mass spell and trap removal would make things super different here. Because
Jinzo.
Yeah,
although that's really just trap hole, but a tribute monster that gets around trap hole is pretty good.
Yeah,
Jinzo's too broken.
Yeah, especially for Yugi-Kaiba. I mean, that would change the math completely.
Mobius does change things, but not that drastically. It's still weaker than Summon Skull.
Yeah, I'd say it changes things like quite a bit because it would change how people play back row. Like back row in this format is very much like people sort of like helmet up and set everything. That doesn't always happen, to be sure, but like you can often do that because people aren't playing things like Trap Master or Arm Ninja or D-Spell.
At least in the main deck.
Yeah, at least in the main deck, yeah. So like you can definitely do that and be pretty safe. So like adding something like Mobius or, anything would change things quite a bit. For Jake Pick, it would be Destiny board, Soul says. Yeah, but which piece of Destiny board? Are you gonna add one of the spirit letters or the board? Yeah, more old school Yugimos. Yeah, more old school monsters. Let's go. It's a very good answer, 6-inch Scar.
Just as I don't think anybody. I'm saying this because I think this would be a good pick, but I think also not many people would say it. Do you know number 66, Master Key Beetle?
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting card. That would be interesting.
2500 with some immunity to destruction.
Yeah, that would probably break the format, honestly.
But you would have to. It's level 4 dark, so it'd have to be Legion, and is there? I guess Komori Dragon you could run.
Yeah, it would be like Ryukishin Powered as well is something you could do. Like Dark Equip is a deck in this format. It's not the best, but Giant Key Beetle could change some things.
It would honestly probably be a Exiton Knight.
That would be crazy.
It's probably going to be a rank 4 monster if this is a real thing.
Yeah, or a Link monster, like a Link 2 or something. Could also be potentially good. But yeah,
well, I'm sold. Go ahead and host the tournament.
Yeah. I'm gonna post this question in the YGO from Zero Discord after this tournament just to see what people say, because I do think it's really fascinating. Yeah, Joshua McChriston, Jinja would be very crucial against reinforcements and trap holes, but it is interesting because like you've got the Summon Skulls running around, so like you'd be able to get over it, but it'd be very interesting. It would also like invalidate a lot of stall decks because it can get around like Ultimate Offering, and Ultimate Offering is crucial for a lot of stall mill decks that want to interact with your opponent during their battle phase. So yeah, this is a very interesting board.
Basically kills stall mill.
Yeah, exactly. Which many people would say is not a bad thing. Because a lot of people really dislike stall mill, and I can't blame them because the deck is kind of rough to play against. But that Fissure is very nice here. They can just attack in, and this is kind of like why using up the 3 reinforcements and the Raigeki in the beginning was good for DK in the moment, but it's kind of tough now because like Rain Dance can just play around all the other outs to dislodge it, and there aren't the most here. So I mean, if DK is on Soul, then they've got a little bit more outs, but there's the Dark Hole, so that's the other board clear here. So now Rain Dance doesn't really have to play too much around the board clears. It looks like they've got a trap hole for the Neo here. So that's going to be pretty good at stemming that aggressive pressure. And they may have even drawn into another monster here to get even more aggressive. So, this is turning out, I feel like it could go easily in Rain Dance's favor here. Although we've seen no trap holes out of DK. So they could definitely have a trap hole. Just a set easily. Pass. I mean, that's pretty good.
Down 2 Wabaku already.
Yeah, so it's looking a bit tough for DK. They've got a bit of an uphill battle here. And that's part of what makes this format so interesting, in my opinion, is that since there is no graveyard recursion, once a card's gone, it's gone. And you've just got to, like, play your hand out from that point. So, like, being too pushy with certain cards or, holding on to them is a major consideration. And, yeah, so, we're seeing that very clearly in this game.
Now, what are the highest attack point cards? Is it Blue Eyes and does it drop down to Dark Magician, or are there some of those cards in between?
Blue Eyes, Tri-Horns, and then in terms of the tributes, I think it then does drop down to Dark Magician. Like, Block, correct me if I'm wrong, and you can think of another.
Summon Skull and Dark Magician.
Summon Skull and Dark Magician.
But Summon Skull's level 6.
Yeah, so it's like just inherently better than Dark Magician.
And how many card destructions are there?
2. Yep.
2? Okay,
semi-limited.
Here's my thought process here.
Mm-hmm.
You run triple Blue Eyes, triple Tri-Horned, 2 card destructions. Hope that you hit their Dark Hole and Raigeki, and this is in my hypothetical format.
Yeah.
So wait until they have no Dark Hole and no Raigeki. You're just discarding your Blue Eyes and Tri-Horns, and you drop your 1 card. You get to have Soul Charge. Bring back 5 of them.
That would be very funny. That would honestly work too, because like once the Dark Hole and Raigeki are gone, it's like, what do they do? You know.
But if you drop Lord of D beforehand, flute.
Yeah, and then there you go. And that could even like burn through. Oh, and speaking of burning through, it looks like they've assembled enough damage here to take down DK0. Because generally you go for the burn spells once you've got lethal. And yep, there's an Okazi. And 1 more burn spell will do it. Oh, that's it. Okay. Last set, maybe Just Desserts. And then you just Desserts at the start of their turn here to deal that 500. Yeah. Yep. Just Desserts. No way to interact with this before the main phase. Fun fact in this format. So, yep. There we go. And
extra crispy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I honestly think, like, and this is like a hot take somewhat in this format, but after like playing a bunch of burn games, I think that burn is tier 1. Like, I think people are sleeping on this deck.
All right.
Now
Be right back.
Yep.
Okay. Am I supposed to call you B-Socks? What am I supposed to call you?
You can call me B-Socks. You can call me Ben. You know, I'm good with whatever.
Okay, so. Ben from YGO from Zero.
Yeah.
Let's say you know for a fact, right? You know your opponent says, "Hey, in the next match, I'm running a burn deck." What? And you still get to build your deck with that knowledge. So what cards are you adding that you normally would not have in there?
I feel like so. If you're a stall deck, you go like full aggro. You're like, okay, I'm smoke screening into my aggro build because burn just hard kills me. But if you're like a regular like soul control deck, I think what you do honestly is you probably want to side more into the soul control stuff. Like if you're only playing 3 skulls and 2 soul exchanges, I think you bring in another Judge Man and another soul exchange, since they've got like so many defenders. And you know, soul control is a good way to get over defenders. I think also you can side in D-spells, because oftentimes the burn deck does just, you know, set their spells as bluffs. So D-spells can be great at sniping those. It's not like the best trade, but that can actually come up quite a bit in the end. But I think the biggest thing you do is you just play differently. Like you use your Wokus earlier. You make it so that your opponent can't get in like bursts of damage that can potentially put you to a threshold where you're losing the game. So I think it's honestly like in terms of like you just mainly change the way you play.
But you're not adding any like Diane Ketos or anything? I don't know.
I think I mean you could include those in the side deck. I just think like things like Diane Keto are a little bit cope, because like the idea is that you're using 1 card to increase your life points by 1,000, but like you could think of it as like if that was another 1 card, you could use it more effectively, right? Like why go for Diane Keto instead of like a defender, right? Defender could save you even more than 1,000 life points over the course of the game. So
obviously in general meta, but I didn't know if against burn specifically, if there were so many, there's so few burn cards that you could just outlive them.
You could potentially do that. The issue is that burn can also just get aggressive with its monsters as well, which is part of what makes it so powerful. And as Joshua McChristian says in the YouTube chat, like it does take skill to play, which is one of the big things. It's one of the ways where you can like mess up a burn player, because if they haven't played with the deck a lot, you know, they can make some easy mistakes and not necessarily know the exact win con for it. But it also does mean that like if you're playing someone who's playing burn, you've got to expect that they're going to be very good at the game. And because if they're not good at the game, you're just going to win probably either way. But if they are good at the game, then I don't think the Ketos are worth it, because their goal isn't necessarily to kill you only through burn spells. Their goal is to get you to a threshold where they can. And like Dankido helps against that threshold a little bit, but not enough to actually stem that tide that tide of aggression that they're throwing at you. At least that's my opinion on it. But yeah, Soul says in the YouTube chat, Yugi-Kaiba burn is interesting to see, and I agree. I hope we see more of it, honestly, because I do think that it could win like a big Yugi-Kaiba tournament, and I think that's what it will take for some people to see it as a real deck. I think a lot of people don't really see it as real right now. It's gotten like top 8, but I think people like view that more as a fluke or something like, you know, Dragons getting top 8 where you can get lucky with it. But I do think that like it can really come up in a major tournament, and I think that if people are playing more stall decks, which, you know, stall is a very good deck in this format, then it could definitely come up there. And Burn is a meta pick for that sort of meta. But oh wow, that's funny. The Change of Hearted Aquamandor hits a Wall of Illusion and gets sent right back, which can happen with Wall. And it looks like DK might have gone for a more defensive side deck option here, which is another way to stop the burn deck. Because, you know, as I said, like, you could play Dankitos, but if you're playing the defenders, that sort of walls you up a little bit better, saves your life points a little bit more.
So it does bounce back to the original owner's hand?
Yep, to the original owner's hand. There's actually no way in this format for a monster to go to the other player's hand. And I don't think there will be, actually, until Exchange, which comes out quite a bit later. But, yeah. This format, anything sent back to the hand goes back to the hand, unless it's a fusion monster, in which case it goes back to the fusion deck. Not the extra deck yet. That will come with synchros, which I'm excited to eventually reach, although that'll take quite a bit of time. But I am planning to eventually reach it. But yeah, this might be a bit of a slow one, given that, you know, both players are playing pretty defensively here, which they kind of have to do. I don't think it will go to deck out, luckily, which is the key. But I think it will probably take quite a bit of time.
I'm on a one-track mind about the if you could choose one card thing.
I mean, it's a fascinating question. I don't blame you.
I feel like Gores would be so powerful in this format.
Gores would be really cool. There's like very little ways to interact with Gores. And like, you know, you've got a token to crash with whatever monster your opponent attacked in with, and you've got a 2700 attack monster, which gets over everything in this format. So that would be pretty crazy. I agree. I think I would go probably for the BLS over the Gores, just because like it's much more explosive. But yeah. We've got some more comments in the chat. I will be going to cover LOD and Fiber very soon. I'm almost done with the Joey Pegasus covers that I'm planning on doing. So there should just be a couple more videos left of that. Because I feel like Joey Pegasus is very, very similar to Android. And, you know, I do find it very interesting. But I showed off a lot of Android on the channel. So I feel like people might not be as interested to see a long, drawn-out Joey Pegasus format. But right after Joey Pegasus, I'll be diving in to LOD and Fiber. So expect that probably not next week, but the week after that. So look forward to that.
Joshua did. I was thinking of Level Limit Area B or Gravity Bind. Both be.
Yeah. No, that would be interesting. Yeah, and it probably would force decks to run Remove Trap. And that would just make the stall deck even more insane. Because the stall deck would just be, like, unstoppable at that point. Like, if you play Level Limit especially. Oh, I guess people play D-Spell, so, you know. Yeah. There you go for that. But, yeah. DB seems to be having some technical issues, which is unfortunate. So that might draw out the tournament a little bit longer. But hopefully the lag gets a little bit better as things go on. Clearly, you know, so many people are watching this that, like, it's crashing the system. You know, we get too much of a following here. Yeah, Trapmaster does get played in some decks, so, you know, that could stop the Gravity Bind Dreams. So I guess there are outs to it, but, like, you've got to draw into the Trapmaster, which can be a bit tricky. Oh, so what card do you think in Joey Pegasus makes Hat Control more interesting? Would that be, like, Penguin Soldier?
Now explain to me here. I'm as I said, I'm a little behind, but I saw you used Manual Bug to destroy Neo instead of Wall of Illusions. To explain that choice to the people here.
I think because Neo's just more aggressive, and Raindance is trying to prevent them from taking too much damage. And also,
Raindance doesn't care if there's a Wall of Illusion.
Yeah, because they've got inevitability with their deck. Like, they've got enough burn spells that, like, if they're allowed to draw into enough of their burn spells, they could potentially just win through that, potentially. It's, like, a bit tricky for them, but, like, there are ways to do it. What they care about is, like, they don't want DK to start hitting into them, because if they get too low, then it could be very tricky. Yeah, Penguin Soldier would be very interesting in Hat's control. Not enough for me to, like, actually test out the deck, I think, because I am trying to, like, keep the coverage on Joey Pixis lean. And I do think that Hat's control kind of got hurt by Android format with things like, Kaiku really preventing, like, a lot of graveyard recursion, which is why I didn't really cover it in Android. But I do like that you're still experimenting with the deck, because I do think it's really cool. So I encourage you to experiment with it more, and I look forward to seeing what you do with it. Trap Hole on the Login is very good here. You want to do that. And again, they're fine, honestly. Oh, Last Will's pretty clutch here. Last Will can bring out something good. Maybe a Wicked Worm Beast. That'd be cool to see. It looks like they're just walling up even more. But, again, as we said, like, Raindance doesn't care, like, too much about the walling up here. Because they do have inevitability. But we'll have to see how it goes here. They have used up 2 Manual Bugs, which is pretty prime removal. So it's a bit tricky. They're going to go for Pot of Greed, which is pretty great here. I mean, that's pretty great anytime you've got the Pot of Greed. But let's see what they actually do here.
I think what's very interesting about these old formats is you have one of, at least in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, one of the most broken cards of all time, Last Will. And it's... But in no way does it feel that broken. Like, we just saw him bring in a giant silver stone. Like, that's good, but you're not like, oh, well, we need to ban Last Will. Like, it's interesting to see these strong cards, but, like, in a non-degenerate manner.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And honestly, like, you can make a deck around Last Will in Yugi-Kaiba, like Last Will Turbo, which is just trying to, like, abuse it as much as possible. Honestly, I think the deck's probably, like, tier 2, maybe. I don't even think it's, like, the best deck. And that's really cool to me, because it makes Last Will a much more of, like, a tech card that feels more in line with how it's supposed to be. Because a lot of, like, broken Yu-Gi-Oh cards later become broken based on how the game evolves, like, over time. Like, in later Yu-Gi-Oh, you have things like Cyberstein and things like that, where if you bring it out, you basically just win the game. And, Cyberstein itself wasn't really designed with, like, a way to do that, I think. I think they just wanted it as a cool way to cheat out fusion monsters. But when you get things...
I think it was designed just for Blue Eyes Ultimate, really, it seems.
Yeah, like. And that was cool, because it wouldn't, like, immediately lose you the game. Yes, there were combos with, like, Megamorph and things like that would cause it to be very powerful in the OCG. But the way that it manifested in the TCG, because we didn't really get the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragons, was once things like Cyber Twin Dragon came around, it became very, very good. And you were just able to, like, use, like, Stein Monarch stuff. So you tribute out a monster, generally a Monarch, clear some of your opponent's cards, Last Will out of Stein, bring out a Cyber Twin, and that's just the end of the game right there. So, yeah. Yeah, I think Last Will is probably underdeveloped in this format, Joshua McChristiansen, because, like, it is a very interesting card, and I feel like there are still things people can do with it. And I also think that, like, Worm Control is a little bit underdeveloped as well. Like, I put a lot of work into that deck, but I think there's still more that can be done. And Last Will pairs very well with Worm Control, as if you bring out your worms, then that can be such a good resource later on. So I am hoping that people experiment more with, like, Last Will Turbo and, like, Worm Control stuff in the future. I think right now the biggest amount of experimentation will probably go into Burn, as, like, people have seen it as, like, something that's, like, oh, that's interesting, that can actually win some games. So people are testing it out more and, like, really, like, optimizing it, I think. But yeah, I do hope that Last Will Turbo and Worm Control get a bit more press in the future. Last Will is going to be interesting in Fiber and LOD. That is correct, Soul. So I'm excited to see people experiment with that, especially with things like Exiled Force being big there. Like, I think that would be really cool to see. I'm honestly really excited for LOD and Fiber, just because I really like Legacy of Darkness as a pack. I think it like introduces some very interesting ideas that become like standard a lot later in the game. Like especially with types. Like before Legacy of Darkness, you had some type synergy, like mainly through field spells and equip spells. But you don't really have what Legacy of Darkness gives you, where like a type gets its own sort of play style. And I think that's really cool. So I'm excited to experiment with that a little bit more in LOD and Fiber. So look forward to those future videos. Those should be pretty fun.
So we can play a little guessing game here. During your last 30 seconds of talking, you reminded me of 2 cards I think should have been obvious for my hypothetical format. So when you said worm control, I was like, oh, how did we not think of this card?
W Nebula Meteorite. That's clearly what you're thinking.
No,
I'm kidding.
One of the most broken cards of all time. It would basically be like, I mean, you'd have to be ahead already, but it's basically an auto win.
Yeah. If you're ahead, it's an auto win. Needleworm, maybe.
No.
Okay.
There's like that Man-Eater Bug is the only way to stop this card.
I'm trying to.
I thought of it because you said worm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like what.
Wait, you say Reaper?
Yeah, like Spirit Reaper.
It's the better version. It's a better version of Reaper.
Better version of Spirit Reaper. Marshmallow. No, that would.
No, you're going the other way. Other effect.
Okay, the discard effect. Zalug, maybe? I mean, that's not really a word.
No, better.
Better than Zalug.
Come on, it's what's Worm's effect?
Worm bounces back to Yada. Yeah.
Yada, yes.
Yeah.
Because it gets under Trap Hole.
Yep.
Can't be hit by Fissure, Dark Hole, or Raigeki.
And this format really is resource intensive. So, like, if you can't draw more resources, that's it. So, yeah, Yada's a pretty good option. And there are, like, a lot of situations where, like, you can pull off Yada pretty easily.
Yeah, drop a Raigeki or a Dark Hole, and it gets in.
Yeah. There you go. And
then the other. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I just got excited because it looks like Rain Dance is getting on the aggressive here. They're going in. I don't know why they didn't flip up their set, though, because you'd think if it was Man-Eater, they'd flip that up. I guess because they're doing swords anyways, so they like want to save the Man-Eater for next turn if DK sets a monster. But I don't know about that. That's interesting. If it's a defender, I think they should have just flipped it up and attacked in. I mean, DK could be on D-spells, but like... Oh, and there's a Swords of DK zone. Okay, it is a defender. I think they should have probably flipped it up and just attacked in. Because, like, what's the worst thing that happens, right? DK D-spells your swords and attacked into one of your defenders. Then you switch the other to defense. So, like, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that.
I'm probably about to find out, but what was the defender?
The defender was Aquamador.
Okay. So, I don't know if... Well, yeah. I was going to say if it was 2 giant soldiers of stone, maybe he's worried about... Well... No, I was gonna say maybe he's worried about change of heart, but one. Oh yeah. That would make, their swords revealing light anyway, so that wouldn't even make sense.
Yeah. Well, the idea is like the risk is like DK D-spells the sword because like D-spell could be a potential side deck option in this format.
But he could have flipped it anyway, so that didn't make nothing I said made any sense.
Yeah.
The other card you mentioned, you said I forgot why you said types only came up with field spells and stuff. There's a field spell I'm thinking of, and it is
Mystic Mine.
No, it is because it's got built-in protection. I think it's got a very good effect for this format. It's the most famous anime-wise. It's the most famous field spell of all time.
Most famous anime field spell of all time.
And back.
Welcome back. Cole thought of some more cards that you could potentially add to the format as like to make it broken. And right now there's a field spell. I
said the field spell would be broken in this format. I said it's the most famous field spell of all time because of the anime.
Trying to think.
It had an effect. I bet chat will get it. It had an effect that literally could not be printed in real life. In the anime, it had an effect that could not possibly happen in real life.
Okay. Narrowing it down a bit. Chat, you got any ideas? We got 6 people in chat, so. Trying to think. The only broken like field spells I can think of from the anime are things like Bakura's Dark Sanctuary, but like that wouldn't work.
That is my favorite card of all time, by the way. That card is awesome.
It's super cool. Also, I really like that they actually printed it in.
Yeah, there was no way to really make it work like the anime, but they did a really good job. That was the best way you could have done it.
And it's the only way that you could potentially even think of playing Destiny board. Like, so yeah.
I think you've seen the anime, right?
Yeah, I've seen the anime. I've seen it.
In all the original series.
Yeah. Oh, Seal of Orichalcos?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah.
Built-in protection, adds 500 to everything. I think you can have 10 monsters on the field. Like,
yeah, that would be pretty broken. And like, yeah, does it lose to? I forget if Seal dies to if your opponent activates a field spell as well.
It would. Yeah, it would. I believe.
Yeah. So if multiple people played Seal, then that would be pretty devastating. If like you seal to get rid of your opponent's seal. But yeah, no, that's a good pick. That's a really good pick. Celtic 1 got it. The Seal of Orichalcos. Yeah, very good.
It doesn't have any protection from other field spells.
Yeah. So that could, Umi Beatdown would have an advantage in that sort of situation. But yeah, although with Seal out, you could probably just play Seal.
But yeah, I mean, you could play. I mean, you could run Ryu Kishin if you wanted, and would get over the 2,000 defense monsters.
Yeah, and that'd be pretty good.
Oh, before we move on that, if this hasn't been said already, Clody beat Dump Truck.
Oh, Clody beat Jump Truck. That is good to know.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. So it looks like we're going to have Clody in the finals as our first finalist. Cool to see. So
I want to watch him be set on fire.
Yeah, listen, I'm rooting for Burn. I'm rooting for Rain Dance here. And I think things are looking like pretty decent for Rain Dance overall. Like if you look at the cards that each player has used up, Rain Dance has used up Change of Heart and Dark Hole, which does limit their aggressive capabilities, and DK is not. But I mean, I still feel like this is pretty decent. They haven't used up any of their burn spells, and if you draw into enough, you don't really need to drop them down to a super low amount. Pair Seal with Ultimate Offering. That would be very funny. You just bring out a bunch of monsters on field with the Seal buffing them up, and you can get out like 10 in a turn. Although I don't think the actual card has the 10 effect, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure how that would work on on an actual game mat, but yeah. DK.
Oh, you know what? I swore the actual card had you could summon 10 monsters, but it doesn't. It has if you control 2 or more face-up attack monsters, you can't attack the lowest attack monster.
Yeah, which I do believe was an effect of the original Seal in the anime.
Well, I think that's how they brought into the real world the back row, where the back row monsters are protected from the front row monsters. That's how they did that.
Which is a good way to adapt it, honestly. I would have preferred you just do like a Crystal Beast sort of shenanigan, where you can place monsters in your back row and use them as monsters.
I just realized what makes this question. I think this is really what makes the question so interesting. If you just Google the most broken cards and ever printed, because you can only have one in this hypothetical.
Yeah.
All of them are archetype cards, but they don't work. They wouldn't work in this. So you have to find those cards like Blackluster Soldier, Seal, Yada.
Does Masterpiece have to tribute continuous spells and traps, or can you just contribute any spell and trap?
I thought it could. I didn't play when that card was around, but didn't it? Can you tribute from your hand, or am I making that up?
I think you have to tribute on field, but if you can just tribute a set spell or trap, Masterpiece might honestly be the most broken card in the format. Because how are you getting over a Masterpiece that is a spell and trap discussion? Oh, it has to be continuous, yeah. So that's probably a bit worse.
It could be ultimate.
Yeah.
Are there any continuous spells, or does not exist?
Continuous spells don't exist yet.
Yeah.
Just traps.
Yep. So you'd be able to get the trap protection, which is nice, but it doesn't stop against the most forms of removal.
It doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. It's still it would be funny to pair it with Soul Exchange, but
yeah.
There comes a Summon Skull coming down to potentially beat over a defender here. So let's see if it is actually a defender. Could be Wall. Oh, no, it's just an Aqua Manor. So it looks kind of tough for... yeah, you got a Waboku before damage step, but I think that's ultimately fine. It doesn't matter. Rain Dance knew the identity of their Aqua Manor, so, this is fine. But yeah, interesting that they're using the Waboku there. I feel like this means that they probably have a way to get rid of the skull, or they just got like an overwhelming amount of Wabokus, which could be an option as well. DK has not used up any Wabokus, which will make the damage push a bit tougher for Rain Dance here. So the Just Desserts can get 3,000 damage on this current board. And then you add to that the 2,400 from the Okazis, and you actually can potentially kill DK like pretty soon, potentially, depending on what burn spells you've got. But it would require a lot of specific burn, and yeah, it's kind of tough. So I feel like
you need all 3 Just Desserts to get 3,000 right now.
Yeah, you need all 3 Just Desserts, and DK is actually not attacking that set just to preserve their life points in case it is a defender. Very interesting here, but I don't hate that play. Something that DK does have to consider though is that they are losing the deck out war here. So if the game does stall long enough and Rain Dance can survive long enough, then this could potentially come down to deck out instead of burn, which, is still a valid win option. So kind of risky.
Pot of Greed has also not been used by DK0 yet.
No, it has. Both players have used Pot of Greed here. So.
I just saw it. Missed it. All right.
Yeah. It's easy to miss stuff
there's a trap hole.
When the graves are so big. Yep, trap hole on the Lodgin. That means Rain Dance probably does have a Fisher in hand, I believe. Like, that makes the most sense to me because, they bring out Lodgin, hit over the Battle Ox, Fisher away the skull. That makes a lot of sense. But it looks like they're just going to pass back to DK. DK is going to attack in with the skull. And let's see if they're going to go for a Waboku here. Yeah, probably. Or, this might be a Just Desserts on attack deck because they've got a bug set. There's 2 of the Just Desserts. That gets
2,000 damage.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good.
What karma?
Oh, into wall.
Wall.
Okay, that makes sense. DK can still attack with the Battle Ox here, and I mean there's no reason not to attack with the Battle Ox unless you there's no reason not to attack with the Battle Ox here. I feel like if you're a Rain Dance, you just take that, because it doesn't look like they've got a Waboku, because they would have used it to preserve the wall likely, probably. I mean I don't know, but yeah, this is an interesting state of affairs. It's very tricky. DK's got the aggressive advantage here, but Rain Dance could potentially still pull it out by the nature of their burn deck. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the duel develops so far. Yeah, Rain Dance, just give it to them. Yeah. No sharking here. It's fine. This is a casual tournament. So let's, I'll just message them in case they're actually being serious. Yeah. And I can't type today.
Seven cards.
Yeah. So, I mean, the set could be a man here. That's a very good option.
DK0 has to discard.
Oh yeah, DK does have to discard. That could actually come up. So I'll message DK here.
Not playing Series 1 OCG.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yep, they caught it. Okay. So, game state is all good. I mean, that probably wouldn't have affected things. Injection Fairy Lily would be very interesting to add. Yeah, you pair that with Last Will and just get a ton of damage on board. That would be super interesting. It would be really unfortunate against like a stall deck because like they could just Ultimate Offering out a monster to block the Lily. But it would be neat. It would be cool to see. They do indeed have the Battle Ox here. It looks like they're just going to try probably attacking him with the Ox. Oh, the Trap Hole. Yep. And let's see how many trap holes are left. There's one trap hole left in Rain Dance's possession. But yeah, the lag has been apparently pretty weird today, which is a bit unfortunate.
Notable.
Yeah. In a tournament like this, when matches can go long, though, it's a bit iffy. So, luckily we're still
hasn't flipped up the set monster.
Yeah, which means it could be a man-eater. I wouldn't be surprised if it was man-eater bug.
Yeah, but earlier I brought up how I think the big attraction of your channel is like, where else can I see somebody playing Last Will to summon Giant Soldier of Stone? Like, it's very, like, there's nowhere else I can be watching this Yugi-Kaiba stuff.
Yeah,
which is normally a positive. So
at least
I wouldn't want you to like ban any cards because this is supposed to be like a look back on old Yu-Gi-Oh. But at the same time, I hope you never have a tournament where Fiber Jar is legal.
I mean, I think I'm probably gonna have a tournament where at least one.
Let's look at the upcoming formats.
Yeah, there are a couple formats where Fiber Jar is legal, and yeah, so I'm gonna show them off at least. I might not return to them afterwards, but yeah, I gotta show them at least once. Fiber Jar is one of the most toxic cards in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, though, in my opinion. So,
and yet,
yeah,
Yata.
Yep, Yata format will have Fiber Jar, and people do like Yata format a lot. Perfection Neo, happy to have you on the stream. Happy that you could catch it. This has been a pretty intense stream so far. We've got some intense Yugi-Kaiba gameplay. We're doing pretty good here. Yeah, I can't complain. We're almost at 700 subscribers, actually. So if anyone's not subscribed already, then now's the perfect time to do so. You can claim the 700th subscriber spot. I'd really like to reach 750 by the end of this month. But we've been having a bit of a slow time in terms of subscribers on the past couple days. But yeah. But I'm doing good, all things considered. Especially when we've got good gameplay to watch like this, because, man, these games have been intense. Yugi-Kaiba games, I feel like, are often very intense, surprisingly intense for how people view the format. But, yeah, I just love watching them.
And they're dealing with a small issue.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine. DK's letting Rain Dance activate first. I think it makes sense for DK or for Rain Dance to use Waboku here, right? Either way. So like I totally believe that this was just like a mistake, like an easy mistake to make. So yeah, I think this is fine. Like again, these locals tournaments are very casual. Like so yeah, you know, people can do like you can get pretty loose with this sort of stuff. Of course, like there are limits to that, of course. And if you do wind up against an opponent who's like, you know, I'm really not okay with you chaining Waboku to my reinforcements, then yeah, like definitely respect that. Or like, you know, ping me and I can come over to like judge the situation. But yeah, in general, we're pretty casual here, and I think that's led to a fun sort of atmosphere for these locals.
All right, I'm throwing a really niche card out there that I don't think anybody would pick, but it's interesting. Do you know the card Dark World Grimoire?
Yes, I do, and it pairs very funnily with Wicked Worm Beast. And also like I've seen an infinite loop with Wicked Worm Beast, Soul Absorbing Bone Tower, Zombie World, and Dark World Grimoire, where basically you have Wicked Worm Beast on field, return to hand, discard it for a hand cost, Dark World Grimoire to like get it back, and then Soul Absorbing Bone Tower like mills your opponent. So you mill your opponent out.
I just want to point out this is one of the more, just because the effect is so specific, it's one of the more lengthy card effects to describe like a simple concept. It's during your end phase, if you discard a monster to the graveyard because you had more cards than your hand size limit. Yeah, that's a very long way to describe a pretty simple concept.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, there's like 3 cards in the game that mention hand size limit in their text.
I'm guessing infinite cards and also the one that decreases your hand size limit, which is
something missed. I can. It's a graceful charity lady. I can picture the artwork.
No, there's also one where you know infinite cards is like two hands reaching up with like tons of cards.
Oh, it's like finite cards.
Yeah, finite cards. That's what it is. I think. But yeah. Will we? Oh, okay. Did DK sign in to burn themselves? We might be seeing that.
That's siding into an entirely different deck is my favorite thing in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, DK says you will see. I'm expecting some Just Desserts to get flipped up. Oh, or the bug. And is that the last Waboku used up? There's one Waboku left. There's one Waboku left, isn't there?
I think the stupidest thing I ever did was
I guess Randons just didn't have it. But there was one Waboku left, so it wasn't quite the end of the game. But yeah, I was hoping for DK deciding to burn themselves there. But going into game 3 here, very, very intense. For people who just joined us, we've got a match between a burn deck in the form of Rain Dance and a match between what seems to be sort of like just a good stuff. Like I don't think we've seen any soul exchanges yet, but they might be on soul exchange. But just sort of like an aggressive like beatdown style deck from DK0 in Yugi-Kaiba format. So always exciting to see here. And yeah, I mean this is going to be a fun game 3. Like I'm excited to see how it works out. And this is also the last game before finals, which will be Clody versus whoever wins this. So exciting to see.
Yeah, I think the stupidest side thing I ever did. I could be getting the deck wrong, but I'm pretty sure I was running. The main deck was a super Dark World Turbo, so like triple Reckless Greed, even like triple Jar of Greed. And there's only like 10 monsters. It's very strong monsters, and I side decked into Chain Burn.
Oh.
So they would bring in Macrocosmos, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, and just useless.
Yeah, you don't care about that anymore.
Yeah,
you're just like, well, here's Chain Strike. Accumulated Fortune, you know.
Yeah, Accumulated Fortune's a wonderful card.
Yeah.
Wow, look at all of those burns.
Oh yeah. I'm excited for the YK burn to hopefully pull it out in game 3. I'm rooting for Rain Dance here. I mean, they're both great players, so whoever wins, it's gonna be good. But yeah. What if you add Flip Monster to Yugi-Kaiba format with just 500 attack and just 500 defense? It really depends on what the Flip Monsters do, honestly, Celtic One. Because like
De La Cuda could be cool. I could be getting the name wrong, but it's that camel that you flip
Des La Cuda?
Des La Cuda.
Yeah, I think
not really a flip monster.
Yeah, not a flip monster. I think it has 700 and 500. I think maybe different.
So a card that draws a card.
500 attack, 600 defense.
500 attack, 600 defense. Oh no, DK's disconnected. He's DC'd. That is unfortunate. Rip Aroni. That's
an example of a monster like that. I think is Iron Blacksmith Kotetsu.
Oh yeah, Iron Blacksmith would be interesting. It would change the way a lot of like equip decks work, but like I'm not even sure if it would be that good. It would be fine, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it would actually increase the power of the equip decks that much.
It'd make you waste the change of heart.
That's true. But that's just why that's just why you run an equip deck of your own, you know.
And the final card I thought of, and I would be I think this would be my most hyped card to see. Are you familiar with the card? Because I never really saw any play. Rocket Arrow Express.
Yes, I am. The trades would be super cool with this format.
Yeah.
It would probably completely break the format, honestly. I mean, being able to bring out something with like 4,000 or 5,000 attack, that'd be pretty good.
There's so many cards that you think would be good, but they're not good because of triple fissure. Like I was like Soul Exchange with Obelisk, but Obelisk dies to fissure.
Yeah. And that would be the issue with the trains too. Unless you can like guarantee an OTK, but that's a bit tough because of Waboku. Like you're in a bit of a tough spot.
And another one we forgot for 500. Spear Cretin.
Oh, Spear Cretin would be interesting in this format. It would actually add recursion.
And it can loop with itself.
Yeah, and like
looping man-eater bug.
Yeah, that's if you're allowing more than one copy, which I'm not sure if
you're right.
Yeah, if we're doing more than one copy, but looping with man-eater bug would probably be good enough to have it see like constant play in this format. I mean, your opponent does get back a monster as well, but I mean, you get to choose the removal there, so it's pretty nice. Going for the flip up of the wall here and attacking it, I think that makes a lot of sense. And there's Ultimate Offering, so I mean, not bad on DK's part, but also Ultimate Offering is burning him. So a bit tricky here to navigate. Ultimate Offering is very risky against a burn deck, but I feel like this means that DK is probably on stall. Probably sided into stall mill. Hoping that Rain Dance would side out of burn, but we'll just have to see how that actually goes.
Looks like I'll get the bonfire ready then.
Yeah, well, sorry. We'll have to see if Rain Dance is actually able to set DK on fire. Set the world on fire. That Aquamandor will add the water to potentially stop that.
Sorry for all the burning people references. It's just
no, it's
morbidly funny.
I thought someone pinged me in the Discord, but yeah, Neo.
Clody's watching.
Yeah, I mean, Clody should be watching. This is their competition for next time. So it looks like it's not quite a stall mill deck, but it's just the deck using Ultimate Offering here, most likely.
UO control.
Yep, UO control seems to be the most likely thing. Maybe not with like Reapers and the like, but yeah, still not bad. DK can't really get over the wall that easily, although this does prevent Rain Dance from attacking in to get damage that way, really, because, you know, DK just has got Matador in hand, and, like, if they draw into more defenders, then they can't really do anything there. So it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tough. We'll have to see how this goes exactly. A Lodge-In would contest the Neo, which would be pretty good, and then potentially force the Ultimate Offering activation later. Which honestly is in Rain Dance's favor. If they can just get DK constantly activating the Ultimate Offering, then that could potentially get them below the threshold that Rain Dance needs. Kind of tricky, though. DK is going to set one. I think that makes a lot of sense. Playing around things like Fisher and Lodge-In, so that way you don't have to pay more life with Ultimate Offering. And they probably do.
It also all but confirms that the set card is in the back row is probably not reinforcements.
Yeah, I'd say that makes sense to me. Although this could potentially just be to play around Fisher. The Man-Eater Bug is pretty good here. Pops that wall. Not sure exactly. Oh, I guess they figured that it was a bug anyways, so they're just doing this to stall for a bit, which I think makes sense. Swords is a very good card in this format. It just is able to buy you a bunch of time, which is very, very essential, I think.
I meant to say earlier, flip. As with all my comments for the last hour, the hypothetical. Flip wall of revealing light. Pay 3,000. You're invincible.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. I mean, that would probably cause people to put remove traps.
Yeah, the issue is people would just start running remove trap.
Yeah. Raging Flame Sprite would be interesting, as would Wave Motion Cannon. Wave Motion Cannon would be brutal this format. That would just, that would be insane. Like you'd have to main D-spells for sure.
Yeah, I think the real answer to my hypothetical, I was thinking of like big monsters, but I think we were really underestimating having Last Will be legal. I'm sure there's an under 1,500 attack monster that would break the format.
Although it's funny, Cyberstein wouldn't really do it. I mean, you could bring out like Gaia the Dragon Champion, but like, is that really worth it? I don't really think so.
There's no twin-headed?
That comes next format. And even if twin-headed was out, I'm not sure that would still be worth it because life points matter a lot in this format. So
definitely.
Fishing for Lodge-In's pretty good. Good trade there. And DK is thinking about whether they commit more to board here, which I think makes sense. I think you just wait it out, honestly. You've got the Ultimate Offering up, so like, could just wait it out. It'll be interesting to see, though. We can pretty much guess that set is not Trap Hole or Reinforcements, though, right? Like, it'd probably have to be a Waboku. Like, because if it was trap hole or reinforcements, you just use it to deal with the lodging. Unless they're just waiting to fish for the lodging. That could be as well. And a pretty good use of resources. Like, you generally want to use up, like, your fishers to remove things, as opposed to things like, trap hole and reinforcements, which are, like, your very few ways to interact with your opponent during their turn. So I think that would make sense as well. But I don't know. It's tough to say.
I've realized that's my favorite thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the ability, how easily you can interact during their turn.
Yeah, and I think that's really fun. I mean, you can do that in other card games as well, but like there are just so many ways to do it in Yu-Gi-Oh! And like it really commits, like it really turns the game into a big back and forth. Ring of Destruction would be crazy in Yugi-Kaiba format Celtic 1. That'd be nuts. I mean,
kill me now.
Yeah, that would yeah. That'd be brutal.
I don't think I thought about bringing it up earlier. I don't think. I mean, it's really limited by the fact you can't search it, but
yeah,
somebody would definitely run Final Countdown.
Oh, that would be funny. Final Countdown would be very interesting. It would just be tough because, as you said, you can't search it, and if you draw it in the last 20 cards of your deck, or no, the last 10 cards of your deck, which is possible.
Even if you just don't open it, that's delaying.
You stall.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're seeing right here.
Would find a place here.
Yeah. And there comes a Battle Ox to hit over that bug, which I think makes sense. Oh, trap hole on the Battle Ox. I mean, that's fine because DK could chain Ultimate Offering potentially. They might not even want to. Like, you want to pay 500 to clear a bug. Like, it doesn't really matter as much. It's an option. They're thinking about it here. But, yeah, very interesting. It's tough also to say without knowing DK's hand. We know about the Aquamador, but we don't know beyond that. So they could potentially not have many monsters, although it likely is that they have a couple since, they've got 5 cards in hand, so. But tough to say. Pot of Duality would also be really good because you're not really special summoning much in this format. So you just Pot of Duality to I mean, honestly, it might, maybe not a better.
You would definitely run any other draw card.
Yeah, I mean that would be pretty good. Oh, normal summoning the Wall of Illusion just to hit into that bug. You do have swords up, so that does protect the wall. That is an option. It's not a bad option too. This is the last turn on swords, so I believe at least
this time.
Yeah. So this will mean that Rain Dance can potentially get attacking after this, but again, it's kind of tough for them. They do know. Fissuring the wall, that's very interesting there. That's very interesting.
Prevents it from shifting it to defense.
Yeah, but you can just wait.
Basically blocking him.
But you can just wait, right? Because you can fissure it once it's in defense later. So, I guess the reason they did that is they don't have any monsters to block it, which is very unfortunate. Because DK does have more powerful monsters in hand. They've got, Lodgin is one for sure. But I mean, they've also got Mador in hand that we do know about. So, yeah.
And finally, the pressure's on.
Yeah. This is very interesting. I'm not sure. Rain Dance might be breaking on a bunch of burn spells, which would be very unfortunate. But is Swords not gone? Is that? I thought that was last turn on Swords. I must have miscounted, or they miscounted. We don't have log here as watchers, which is unfortunate. But Swords should be gone now, for sure. What link monsters would I add? Okay, Swords did last a bit too long. Okay, that's what I thought. I don't think it. I mean, it might not have affected things here, but yeah. I mean, it's kind of accepted game state now, but. Okay, that's what I thought. What link monsters would I add is very interesting. I do not have a deep knowledge of the link pool, But like I think something like Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Unicorn would probably be better than Phoenix, right? Because you could spin back a monster. Like the Nightmares would be probably decent. I think
Link Spider.
Link Spider would be very funny, yeah. But it's kind of a liability because like it's just an 1,000. It's an extra 1,000, which is nice. But you have to burn two. You have to burn through one of your other monsters to bring it out, and it's like it's just overextension too. So I don't know how I feel about Link Spider. I think it could be interesting, but we'll have to see. Or we'd have to see. I think Access Code could be interesting, but I think it only needs effect monsters. So like that could be kind of awkward in this format.
You know what card I think I think this card just breaks the entire format.
Which one?
I think the only way to beat this card is either Blue Eyes or your own card from another format is a Fire King High Avatar Garunix.
Oh. Yeah, because
anytime it's destroyed by an effect, it special summons itself back and dark holes the board.
Well, Soul Exchange could clear it,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
So Soul Control would probably be a lot better in that sort of situation.
But Soul Control would also run this card.
That's true. So the only way to beat it is by going into a Soul Control deck. So it's kind of an interesting scenario. Ooh. Maneater Bug popping that Medora is not what Rain Dance wanted to see here. It's very worrying for them. It feels like DK has got this game like pretty much on lock. That Waboku is very useful here, but I mean, I don't know. That's the second Waboku they've gone through, and they're very low on monsters. So
he needs mass removal.
Yeah, pretty much. Because 7,400 is a bit too high with Threshold. You could potentially summon out a monster to hit into the bug. Like, that's a way to get more damage in a way that Ultimate Offering can't stop. It looks like they will indeed be trying to do that. And DK does not stop that with a Trap Hole or something. They might use up a Waboku here because they don't necessarily want to take this damage. That'll be 1350. Vampire Lord would be pretty neat in this format. I do admit. Because, it's kind of like Garunix.
Judgment.
Oh, that's pretty good. They'd have to pay 500 to do that, but might have been worth it. If Rain Dance does have reinforcements, they might want to go... No, it looks like they're not going to go for it. This is a tricky... Yeah, Raigeki. I think that's a good one. Honestly. In this scenario. Like, it's kind of rough because, like, you want to use that to get aggressive later. But it's also kind of necessary because if your opponent has a way to clear your monster, they can just get in for lethal damage pretty easily. And there are so many ways to clear Lejin. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Although it is kind of unfortunate that they had to resort to that.
Also, Judgment becomes a reborn target.
It does, but that works both ways.
It does.
So, yeah, it's interesting.
It's basically a desperate move.
Yeah. 6,900 is a bit too high for consistent burning. So, a bit tricky. That Login could potentially be pretty good here. Okay, they are going to go for the Trap Hole again.
Now that's 2 Trap Hole and 2 Waboku. No
Chain of Ultimate Offering, though. That's very interesting. So it seems like they probably don't have another aggressive beat stick that can get over Lejin here. Because if they had like another tribute monster, you just chain Ultimate Offering to Trap Hole.
Or a Fissure. To bring the Lejin in safely.
Yeah.
Or anything, really.
Yeah. So that's kind of rough for DK. I mean, they've got Ultimate Offering out, right? And we still do know about the Aqua Mator in hand. That has not changed. So, like, they can still pay the 5, bring out the Medora, or bring out another... That didn't... I don't know why they didn't... That's really weird.
That's third Lejin.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just bring this out last turn if they were going to go for it. Like, King of the Swamp would be actually very cool. Yeah, Celtic one. I agree 100%.
Change of heart.
Oh man, if that's that's really big here. If that's a Maneater Bug, especially like, to Trap Master. Whoa, that's also really big though. That's huge.
Well timed.
Yep, Final Flame. Yeah. So actually, this kind of backfired for DK quite a bit. Although seeing the Trap Master there, it saved the Ultimate Offering, which is very important for DK's game plan right now. So, DK is probably breathing a sigh of relief at that. It's just not as big of a swing as they probably wanted. But But yeah, King of the Swamp would be very, very neat. I agree. Like, open up the fusion strategy a lot more. Also search polymerization. Very nice. So, yeah, I think that King would be very interesting. And you can see
didn't we get Fusion Sage?
What? Oh, Fusion Sage would be cool
Fusion
too, yeah.
Sage, yes.
Fusion Sage is kind of awkward, though, because it's like you basically have to be running 3 polys already to make it worth it, right? Because otherwise it's just an additional copy of poly. Like, it does thin the deck down by 1, but like it's kind of weird.
Just talking about the closest one we have from the OCG. They got that very early.
Okay,
yeah,
so that's 1,000, and looks like they don't have a way to. It shouldn't Rain Dance lose 1,000 here unless DK isn't attacking the Trap Master, which why wouldn't they attack with the Trap Master? Oh, I guess they didn't. I mean, DK is not pressing them on it, so. Okay, it looks like it's gonna get sorted out here either way though. Okay, so yeah, that will be an additional 500 here. So
shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're listening on the stream. I don't think so, at least. I mean, they might be. But yeah, I discourage people like from playing to listen on the stream because like, you know, we will be commenting on what I do think like potential good moves are and what other people think are potential good moves. So like, you know, it could be kind of coaching, but yeah. But this is an intense one.
I've got a guessing one for you because I think you guys can get this one maybe. Hasn't seen play in a while. It would be a last will target and would make dragons very, very viable.
Wait. Oh, that change of heart. But they know about the Manor here. So like what exactly is going on a bit?
They might want to bait it out.
They might want to bait out the Manor, but still like this is kind of iffy. Yeah, and then they just set the Manor. You attack in with the Lodge in here either. Oh no, not attacking in. I guess because you know it's Manor, but like.
Another set.
Yeah, this is interesting. I think that they should have just attacked into the set just in case it's a bug, right? Like, what's bug gonna pop? Trap Master? Like, that's fine. And then if, like, yeah. So, I think it is probably the Manor, but
because the info is worth 200 life points, possibly.
Yeah, and like if it is bug, then it preserves your like set that you're bringing out now. Because if DK had set a bug, then like that would be really bad for Rain Dance this turn.
Chose to clear the Trap Master though.
Yep, which makes sense because DK wants Rain Dance to have a monster in attack if it's a weak monster. So like, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Rain Dance was thinking there's no way he burns a bug here popping a Trap Master.
I think that makes sense, yeah. Especially with the... Oh no! DK DC'd again! Rip. Okay.
He's changed his name to DC0.
Yeah, DC0.
He's back.
Okay,
yay.
Good. That's good because this game's been very intense. Like, this is super back and forth. Super very interesting here. And also, as a note, I want to point this out. I don't know if Rain Dance is playing 3 Final Flames, but 3 Okazis plus 3 Final Flames will actually be
there
lethal
it is.
Damage.
The Judgment.
So very interesting here. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, Reborn for the Judgment. It plays a bit awkwardly into Login if DK has a reinforcements.
Man-Eater!
There's the bug on the set. That makes sense.
And it was the
me.
Mador.
Yeah, but I mean, this could be walking straight into a reinforcements here, which would be kind of unfortunate. But you know, they're going for it either way. I don't think it's necessarily bad. Oh, it looks like they will take it all. Wait, they took one more than they needed to, but that 100 damage probably won't matter. If it does matter in the end, we can. I mean, I'll message them either way.
Sorry for an interruption. What were you saying about 3 Final Flame?
3 Final Flame plus 3 Okazi will indeed be the end of the game.
Yeah.
If
Dark Hole. You said 3 Ukazi. my brain heard Ryukaze, and
Oh.
I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
like,
it's Ryu Kishin's little brother.
Yeah.
It's Ryukaze. Yeah. But yeah, European players, I salute you. I feel bad too because I always like to rain dance because they're like, I'm interested in enjoying it. It'll be pretty late, and I was like, I don't think it will go too long. But we've been going for over 2 hours now, so it's going a bit longer than expected. But
speaking of European players, you're on Joey Pegasus, yes?
Yes,
currently
we are, and that's when EU had their Yugi-Kaiba, their version of that. Right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
No pot of greed.
Interesting. Just going for a Fisher right out the gate before summoning. That's interesting. So it means that they probably don't have a monster to summon here, or they
Wrong.
do. Well, it's late for both of them, so I think misplaying is fine. Looks like DK is going to bring out a set here. Which makes sense. They didn't actually have to use the ultimate offering on the Man-Eater bug attack, which is probably why they didn't before. But yeah, Rain Dance wisely not attacking into it, I think, because if it's bug, they'll flip it up either way. You get a free attack in. If it's something like stone or something, then you can potentially trap hole. But
Neo fissure.
Oh, this could be the end of the game.
Reinforcements.
Has only 2 Wubokus have been used up.
GG.
Is Rain Dance only playing 2 Wubokus? Oh, they know about the Final Flame. That's what it is. That's 2 Final Flame and Okazi. So they were 750 life points off. Very, very close game here. Whew. 750 off. That's crazy. Very, very intense game.
A bit.
Very, very intense. One more Okazi would have done it.
Summoning to Aquamador, I think.
A Justice Zerts would have done it. Maybe, yeah. Something the Aquamarine might have been too aggressive, but I think it makes sense because they were very, very close, right?
Yes.
So I think it's ultimately fine that they did this. But yeah, they could have just waited until they drew into like a Justice or Okazi instead. Because like that is the win con at this point, right? And you've got you've basically got 3 draws in deck that immediately do it for you. Out of 16, which isn't that bad of an odds, especially if you can like stabilize your position. So yeah, I think that Burn easily could have taken it here, but kudos to both players because this was really, really sick. Awesome to see those games go that way. But yeah, now we've got a DK0 versus Clody for the finals. But yeah, both these players are playing very late, so yeah, it happens, and it's really tough in a lot of these like scenarios to judge what the correct play is, especially when you're running low on sleep.
Someday, you should have 2 locals.
That's the plan eventually. I'm planning on eventually, if these are popular enough, having like a European version and like a American version. But they're not quite at that level where I think I can run that yet. But that's the goal eventually.
What about having a Worlds where like your placement here gives you a certain number of points, and after like 4 tournaments, 4 people with the most points get to go to the Worlds tournament.
That would be pretty funny. Like that would be sort of like the RBT rulers sort of thing that they do. But yeah, I think that would be cool. Maybe in the future, but I don't think we're quite big enough yet for that. Celtic One says, do you think if Burn is played more in the future, do you think people will play life point gain cards more? And I mentioned this earlier with Cole, but I don't actually think that life point gain cards are like that effective defense against Burn decks. I think that like they're fine. Like it's not like completely terrible. But I think honestly the big thing again when you're playing Burn is to change up your playstyle. And also to like side in just more defensive cards. Like we saw in those games there that DK0 brought an ultimate offering, brought in some more defenders, and I think those really stymied the Burn strategy's plays. Because the deck does kind of want to get aggressive and it needs to get a certain amount of damage in before it can actually kill its opponent through a certain damage threshold. So
yeah, I think where I was confused at is I think I have always thought of Burn decks as they run like 3 monsters, but these Burn decks in this format, it's really aggro and there's some Burn cards.
Yeah, and I think that's the big sort of revolution that happened, and I got to give credit to the dual Samwise Gamgee who like showed up to a Yugi-Kaiba tournament and top 8'd with a burn deck for the first time, basically, because they really went the aggro burn style first, that I could see at least. So, you know, they're the one that really inspired people to look more into the deck. And they're the one I think that really catapulted it to tier 1 contention, basically. Because before that, you know, I had experimented with like a stall burn list that I didn't really think was that good. I think I actually managed to win a game with it, but like it just felt really bad and like just really bad. But the aggro burn deck I think fixed a lot of the problems that I had with the stall burn deck.
Sorry, on the Discord.
Oh yeah, Diane Keto.
DK0 very upset.
Yeah. I purposely didn't bring a stall deck, yeah. I appreciate that, DK. I do appreciate that you didn't bring a stall deck. I do think the burn decks aren't necessarily like stall decks. Like, given that they do go aggro, right? It's kind of a weird sort of scenario. They can like get a bit stally, but they're more aggro. I think stop defense could be a good option against burn decks. Like, I think that's definitely a choice that you can make. Because stop defense...
Here we go.
Oh,
here we go. They're about to start. They're about to.
Awesome.
All right, well, before we start, my final contribution, I will be heading out shortly. I didn't want y'all to get my final contribution to future card bring back to Yugi-Kaiba. This card is your first hints are it is a last will target, and also it would make dragons very, very strong. Specifically, one dragon.
Would it be something like Whitestone of Legend?
You're on the right track.
Whitestone of Ancients.
What's up? What'd you say?
Whitestone of Ancients.
It's I was saying Maiden with Eyes of Blue.
Oh
Also
yeah, that would be very good.
Broken. Though counterable with Fissure.
Yeah, Fissure. Yeah, Fissure. It's crazy. That's so funny because there are so many cards that are strong in future formats that just died to Fissure, but Fissure was useless at that point in the meta. So,
yeah.
But now you bring them back, and Fissure just blows them up.
Yeah, no, it's very funny, and like it really does show how these formats are like so different from each other. Because like you know you could potentially run Fissure in Blue Eyes format, but like I mean it's pretty bad in general, except that in that one interaction. And there are just other things that your decks are doing instead that are just like better. But it does
might be a problem.
Oh, is there an issue?
DK0.
Oh no! I mean,
match hasn't started yet, but he's having trouble with his hotspot.
Yeah, I mean, if it does end up where like we wind up with just like the finals unresolved, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
That would be the worst thing.
Because like it has gone.
We make him face Ghost. We make him face Rain Dance.
Yeah.
I want to see him get on fire.
I mean, I'll say.
We can definitely finish it tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow I could probably do tomorrow. Yeah, I could stream tomorrow. Delay finals if that works. Yeah, it's not ideal, but yeah, Celtic 1 actually guessed the Maiden thing as well in the stream chat. So congratulations, Celtic 1. You've been on the ball.
I think I'm saying it, and then he's typing it in chat, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't hear the answer yet."
I choose to believe because the delay is long enough that like I think that I believe you, Celtic 1. So yeah, but yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Celtic 1 isn't listening. Unless he's a Secret Soul Emerald 69 account.
Yeah, it could be.
Are you?
That's the question. We'll have to wait a minute to find out.
You know, there was a card that came to my mind, but I'd actually forgotten it had a second effect. So I thought it was, but I just remembered this would actually be very, very good. And it's not a crazy broken card, but it would be, because we were talking about how strong Burn was, Prime Material Dragon. So it makes burn cards gain life points instead. And I remember that part. I totally forgot it has a quick effect. If a card is activated that would destroy a monster, you can just discard a card and negate it.
Yeah. No, that would be really interesting.
But once again, Soul Exchange.
Yeah. Oh, Celtic One says a cheeky maybe in chat. Very interesting to see. But
interesting.
He has a mic.
Hello. Do we got another? Yeah, we've got Soul in chat. Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah. Sad you.
Totally me.
Yeah. Sad you couldn't bring Worms to the finish. But I mean, as I said, it's kind of an uphill battle for that deck. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I definitely think I could have done some things differently. I don't know. Like I feel like I need to sort of also just get a little bit better about what to side, because sometimes I feel like it's not always easy to like bring cards in and what to take out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Side decking in this format in particular is like really tough. Like honestly, like I've talked to other like very good players in Yugi-Kaiba, and they're basically like, yeah, I don't really side in based on like the decks I'm facing, except for some rare cases. I generally side based on the playstyle of the opponent. So like
that's pretty much how it is in Yugi-Kaiba.
Yeah.
You'd basically have two core decks.
Yeah.
Summon Skull Beatdown, which branches out into a lot of decks, and Stall.
Yeah, and
control, whatever.
Yeah, and so like you can potentially like you can go more heavy on the Soul Exchange stuff if you're up against the stall deck and stuff. But like if you're up against a fellow like Soul Exchange player and you're playing Soul Exchange, like not really many cards to actually bring in because the match is already pretty good. So it's kind of tricky, and it's just like, is your opponent setting a lot of spells? Maybe side in a D-spell. Things like that.
Oh, he did. Clody bemoaning he used Waboku twice.
Oh yeah, we noticed that. Yeah, it worked out though in the end. So don't worry, Clody. Yeah. But yeah, that was sad to see in the moment. I wasn't able to message in time. I'll just say that. Whoops, not Bale, Abel.
Treeborn Frog would be cool.
Treeborn Frog would be interesting, but most players have like back row.
Yeah.
At certain points. So here's what I'm gonna say. I'll give it 5 more minutes. Yeah. So 5 more minutes. If DK hasn't shown up by then and given an indication, then I think we'll have to potentially call the tournament now, and potentially, run the finals at a later date.
Or just give Clody the title again.
Well, yeah. See, I would do that, but Clody won the last one too. So like,
that's why I said again.
Yeah, I need to make a role that's just like local legends. That's what I need to do, and just give Clody the role local legend.
There's nothing more cool than alliteration.
Rip the last cards. Yeah, okay, so the UOs were the last couple. Yeah, because I was wondering about that, because I was like, I looked at the deck list when Clody sent it to me to make sure it was legal. I trusted them, but I just checked in case. Yeah, so I knew that I think that I knew that they had UOs, but I can't reveal secret things about people's deck lists.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah. It is 3:30 a.m. for DK. Yeah, that's a good point. It's also very late at night for Clody as well. So we could definitely schedule
why
this.
we need 2 locals.
Yeah, we could schedule this for a more European-friendly time. Urabi deck and Wasteland Dragon Zombie deck. Those are decks you can make. Janjo actually has some things on their channel that's basically covering the Urabi and Wasteland deck. I don't think that they're really that good. I didn't cover them because I'd been in Yugi-Kaiba for a while, and I didn't really think they did anything like too unique. Yeah.
It looks like no go.
Yeah. We'll postpone to another stream in the future then. I mean, there's more content for me, so
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, I'll take the free content when I can get it. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was a really fun local stream though. I'm happy we could show it off. Your hobby is Pog. I will say that. I know that I sort of poo-pooed it here, but like it is Pog if you can pull it off. And it has seen playing some Last Will stuff. If it's okay, I can stream snipe Clody now. We could try that, but I mean, it might be a bit awkward, especially if the phone's already dead. Yeah. Delay then. Yeah, I'll say delay it is then. But congrats on everyone who played.
It's nice that we got to top 8 today.
Oh yeah, I wasn't expecting it. Like leading up to this, like in the hour before, I was like asking people because I was trying to like assemble 4. So yeah, I was like, okay, well, at least hopefully we'll be able to get to 4. And we managed to get to 4. And then like in like the 10 minutes beforehand, people messaged and were like, oh, I'll sign up as well. So I was able to get to 5, then 6, and then 2 people right after were like, yeah, 8.
Clody wants to play on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday works. That should work for me as well. Yeah, 2 locals would be ideal, but when we get bigger, I think. Yeah.
Need more Europeans first.
That too, yeah. I mean, we've got a fair amount of Europeans, to be fair, but, we can always use a bit more.
Yeah. Or Americans.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take anyone.
Mexicans or Brazilians.
We'll take anyone.
Whatever.
We're fine. But yeah.
Edge Hosinikin would have wanted to
Welcome
be
to the
here.
chat, DK. I know you might be here for not much time based on, your hotspot and phone, but if you've got any thoughts on the games you played that you wanted to share?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry that we cannot play the finals right now because my phone is about to die. I think as long I disabled the hotspot now, like I'm on phone again, so I think I will not die immediately, but like we will see. So thoughts on the games. First I played Soul, then I played Ghost. Both times I lost RPS, both times I lost game 1. And yeah, it was very close, very, very close.
Yeah.
Let me see. Was a Soul. I had like the first game that I lost, G1. He just had ultimate offerings, and I had like double trap hole that I couldn't use, and double ring.
That always hurts.
That I couldn't use because it was out of my systems. That hurts. Like going second and then you get sacked like that. It happens. But then I cannot really complain because like as you saw, because like the first game was not on stream, right? No.
Yeah, it wasn't on stream. We were covering the other game.
I would have caught it, but I was too busy punching my computer.
Yeah, I have the replay still, so if people want to see it.
Yeah, that would be awesome if you could share in the chat.
Yeah, that's true. Like we should share the replays. What was I going to say? Then the second game, I think that was on stream from start to finish.
Oh yeah.
So the burn game. Yeah, game 1, I didn't know he was on burn because I didn't scout. Like I could have just used it.
Oh no.
Like just an all
You're
under a different name and then just. But unfortunately, I didn't.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it made for a cooler game 1, and more intense.
Yeah, definitely.
You're cutting out a bit, so you might be nearing the end of it. But before you sign off, I want to ask, because a lot of people were asking this in chat. What's your philosophy siding against burn? Because a lot of people were wondering about that.
Well, as I think I told you, I'm playing the exact list that GBO played the last tournament, the YGF from 0, number 2. So the exact
Retro
same
2.
list, you can look it up.
Retro 2, I just called them like that. It's quick. Look at it that way.
Yeah.
And so you can look up the list on Dueling Book, and like I have to live with the limitations of that list. So, and the limitations of that list, for example, it's very aggressive G1, it's very pre against stall, but like you do not have offerings, you do not have Stone Soldier, and like those are cards that I will side in against burn, because like my number one priority is to not take damage and to not leave the field wide open. Hello, Clody.
Welcome, Clody. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got lucky. Hi. I got lucky that game 1 I just opened offerings. Like that's so crazy.
Well, it was interesting because we were discussing
offerings,
after that game.
Yeah.
If Ghost had gone like a different strategy and just set the Mador and like tried to draw into their burn cards, they potentially could have won that. Like it was very down to the wire.
Yeah.
Like aggression was
I didn't really expect the Trap Master. I just used the Change of Heart because I thought better safe than sorry, right?
No, that makes sense.
I expected maybe another Man-Eater bug, and I also thought like I don't really need the Change of Heart for anything, because at that point my game plan was just to stall until I draw into mass removal and until I draw into enough pressure. Either that, like when I saw my opening hand, I also knew that it was possible to win by deck out if I draw the cards in the right kind of sequence. It didn't quite play out like that because I was kind of greedy and I played Judgment, and so I gave him a big beater that he could summon with Reborn, and then I had to use my own Dark Hole to clear the field. So I didn't really play that smart, but I did not get punished, because you don't want to use ultimate offerings like too often, right?
Yeah, especially
you just want to use it.
So.
Yeah, but it's still one of the best cards against burn, ironically, even though you self-burn yourself. But it's just so good to have a 4th and a 5th and a 6th Wabaku.
Yeah, no, I mean,
so...
And it came up. It really did come up in that game. So I think that was a very good showing for how to side against burn.
Yes.
But while Chloe's here, since, you know, we've got the 2 finalists here ready to go.
Let's hear some smack talk.
Yeah. But yeah, Claude, if you wanted to talk about your journey to the finals, here we
Degenerate.
Well, which game did you watch?
We watched
first one.
Yeah.
I didn't get to watch it. I was too busy with the computer.
All right.
Yeah, it was the game between you and Slushy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you got what's my strategy, kind of, in my deck. I just don't want to lose to Stall Mill, so I play 45 cards. But not necessarily I'm gonna play Stall Mill myself. You'll never know.
Yeah, we'll have to find out in the games.
It's that deck.
And in
it's
other...
the 45 card abomination.
And it's funny because in any other Yugi-Kaiba tournament, going into the finals with DK, playing a deck that doesn't lose to Stall Mill would be very good. But who knows? Who knows? Now it's a toss-up. We'll have to find out who wins.
But I just realized that DK actually is not in Stall Mill, so that's kind of weird to me. Like, I expected 100% to face his Stall Mill.
Oh,
no,
it's probably because it's almost 4 a.m.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons. No, it's okay. I said in chat, like, I purposefully didn't play a stall deck because, like, an 8-man tournament that starts at 1 a.m. of my time is just going to go on for too long for my taste.
Yeah, fair enough.
And even with people not really playing as many stall decks, I mean, burn is kind of stall, but like, it's already
more aggro though.
Yeah, it's been 2.5 hours, so. You know,
and another point is, usually in training I never play Stall Mill. I just played it for tournaments and just for the big ones.
Yeah.
Like in training I just play whatever, some other list, because like when I play Stall Mill I also smoke screen, and so I have to be able to play like the post side game as well, and that's even more important than the pre-side game to me. because like I'm going to play 2 out of 3 games. I'm going to play post side. I'm going to play a deck that's either more like a UO Rush or more like a Soul Exchange, Soul Controllers. So that's really what I got to train. Yeah. Storm Mill, like, it kind of plays itself. I see the opening hand, and then I know what I have to do.
Although I will say, you know, as Raindan says in the YouTube chat, they thought everyone would be on Storm Mill, so that's why they tried Burn. And Burn has a very good matchup against Storm Mill. The first
Yeah,
game is
that's a good
free.
meta call.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
I've
meta
been
call.
thinking. Stall Mill, siding into Burn.
Yeah, I thought about it
Let's-
too, but I never got to test this.
Yeah,
And like I rarely play Burn myself. I'm not good at
Mm.
playing Burn, not at all. I have a very bad win rate. It should be called a loss rate. I almost always lose when I play Burn.
Yeah. It's kind of awkward because I feel like while Burn is typically seen as a stall deck, I actually feel like it almost isn't. It does play defensively, but honestly, like your main goal behind Burn is just to get quick damage in and like eventually draw into your Burn spells. And I feel like that doesn't necessarily play well with a 43 card deck, which is what stall mill decks are trying to play.
Very true.
So yeah, it's kind of hard, but it's definitely something to experiment with, and I'm sure that people will
Oh,
be
no, but-
experimenting with it in the future.
Yeah, but actually, now that you mentioned that, no, when we played the big Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy tournament 2 years ago, that was like the second biggest Yugi-Kaiba tournament ever. That was, I think it was just slightly less big than the Elite Tin Can one. So this tournament, I had a list with inside I had triple Just Desserts, and those were my only burn cards. Back then I didn't play triple Skull. I played triple Just Desserts instead because when I played this list, when I started playing this list, a lot of people would just spam the field and set monsters to the field, and so I thought, well, let's play Just Desserts. And that.
Yeah,
It's a
it
Kind of
okay.
worked back then. It kind of worked back then, but like thanks to your videos and whatnot, people have gotten a lot more
Aware.
parsimony with their resources.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm happy about that because I you know I'm always glad when like you know my videos get more press on these formats and then it actually like causes people to get better at them and potentially shift the meta a bit. So I'm not gonna take credit for the burn uprising, but like I am happy that like more people are aware of that sort of thing and able to
well, actually, like the first tournament that I ever played with my deck, I lost to someone who conversion sided into burn.
Oh wow! So this is an earlier idea than we expected.
It's not a new idea. It just goes in cycles, right?
Yeah.
I'm always thinking like this format is so simple. Like the people who designed it, they must have already, they must have been omniscient. They must have already known everything that will happen.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the best formats in the game's history, in my opinion. Like,
maybe that's why it's so well designed. Like maybe they just had a lot of time to think about it, and they didn't have to. They didn't have to include all the cards from the OCG pool, so they could pick and choose and like fine tune the format. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Volumes 1, 2, 3, with a little bit of volume 4.
What was the first TCG exclusive card?
That's a good question.
TCG exclusive.
GCG exclusive.
I think it was pretty far after this. I think.
Yeah,
4 years
I would
or
say
so,
something
5.
like Grandmaster of the Six Samurai,
Grandmaster
something
Six
like
Samurai.
that.
Or maybe like
Yeah.
It made Six Samurai actually playable in the TCG.
Yeah, and that was like a European card, I believe, like a European Pharaoh Tour or something exclusive.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I'm excited to reach the years in which that arises because right now it's like
almost,
it's interesting.
that's maybe 2009.
Yeah.
I'm
Right
not
now, we're just going, why don't we have these cards?
sure.
We would have, we actually wouldn't have Duster or Charity yet. That's Critter.
Yeah.
Well, but like the good thing, it's good. It's very good
Yeah.
that like the OCG and the TCG developed very differently in the beginning. Like that makes it interesting to play one or the other in its own right. Whereas later it's more like a fork
Yeah.
of the TCG. It's more like a
Then
fork
you
of the
go.
OCG.
And I mean,
Where's Skellangel?
yeah, Skill Angel would be cool to have,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
Skill
Skellangel
Angel
should
would
be
be
here.
broken.
I do
That's-
Skill
think
Angel is way too strong.
Allure of
Yeah.
Darkness came out in 2008, so
that would be an
Depletion.
interesting card. I mean, that would probably be broken
Ah.
as well, but yeah, I mean,
I
it's
think there was
like the
I-
nice thing about I think just exploring all these old formats is that like there are really so many ways to play this game, right? Like if you don't like one format, there's going to be another format for you, whether it be OCG, TCG,
Yeah.
what have you. So I mean, that's why I love exploring through all these things, and yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And you can see with like the Goat hype and now the Edison hype, like there's really a market for retro TCG.
oh yeah,
And like something that like Jess said about format library is like one of his goals is for each era of Yu-Gi-Oh! So like the series, the TV show, whatever, for each of the TV shows to have like one format, to
yeah, to be
have
the
one format.
yeah,
Well, you need to promote one of them, and you need to make one of them big.
and I think
Before
Yugi-Kaiba
like
or Critter.
yeah, I fall into the same boat. Probably Yugi-Kaiba or Critter because those are incredibly good.
yeah,
Like
but like Yugi-Kaiba is much more popular for whatever reason, maybe because of novelty reasons, because it's so different to
It's
every
also
other
very
format that came
nostalgic.
up.
Critter just needs someone who can actually push it.
well, Critter also is like it's such a skill
Maybe.
intensive format. Like it's so skill intensive.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that like people like I don't know. It's just like very it uses all of your brain to play Critter like optimally. And like for a lot of people that's like too much investment to actually like get that good and play at that
Yeah,
level all the
like
time.
maybe something you can see between the Goat community and the Edison community. There's like a divide, and Edison is much more popular. Maybe because Edison has more casual appeal.
Yeah.
Like there's much more different kinds of decks you can play, much more variety. So for a lot of people, Edison is not going to be boring, whereas Goat is kind of a solved format. You have like the same 5-6 decks usually that like compete for the top spots.
We need
In
to
There are
every-
things
consider
you can do in Go.
we need to
Hmm?
consider that the player base in Edison also is because most of the players that are playing right now probably started when Edison came out.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so popular.
Yeah, a lot
Why
of these
like
stuff.
Yeah,
people that played started when there was Goat around, probably they are like 35 years old probably.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah, of
me that I was like 10 back then.
yeah. And like people stick to something that they already know. And like a different idea would be like for Edison is more accessible to
Are
current
you okay,
players.
Clody?
they're
Say again?
calling something.
Oh.
Clody, mute yourself.
Sorry.
No, no worries.
Sorry for interrupting
Yeah,
again.
it's alright.
Continue.
Edison is more accessible to current format players, apparently, because, like, as you know, Joshua Schmidt, like the big German streamer, he is promoting Edison now. Like, they even did IRL tournaments in Germany, I believe Karlsruhe. And, yeah, he's cooperating with E3 Yu-Gi-Oh! And, like, Edison is the hype, and Edison seems to be more accessible to people who are used to use the extra deck a lot, right? And you don't have that all that much in Goat. You have it a little bit, and you don't have it in formats that came before Goat. Not really. And like in this respect, Critter.
Scientist, but that's really
Yeah, but scientist just
But in
becomes
this
the
respect,
OTK, so
right?
you can play
Like the
scientist
problem
without
is
the OTK.
yeah, but
the problem is in formats like Goat or formats around that time, before or after, like it's more of a no-brainer how you're going to play with your fusion deck. Like in Goat, you have probably Tear or Gatling are like your number one choices, or Rio Senshi or Dark Bolter, but it's very linear which you're going to choose. Then later in CRV, the next set, it gets even worse because you have like Cyber Ant and Cyber Twin,
which
and like you
turns
just
Cyber
spam them
Stein.
to the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And before that, you had Magical Scientists, but like, yeah, as you said, you probably go for the OTK. Well, my point was, like, Critter is more like Goat, but like even worse in that respect that I mentioned. Like, you have less of a variety in decks, and like that's probably not going to appeal to current format players, so people like Edison.
Yeah.
Or
Now,
head
one
format.
could argue, like at the point of Gladiator, Dad Return, and the dividing point to Teledad, many people quit the game because it changed because of synchro monsters. It's a big dividing point in the game's history.
But I think also around that time, a lot of people quit, not just because of the synchros, but because, like, you know, look at the top deck at the time, like Dad Return and then Teledad afterwards.
Like
right?
31
like,
Gladiator Beasts.
spots.
Well,
divided
Gladiator
it.
Beasts eventually, but like around Teledad, right? Like that was such an expensive deck, and a deck that like locked a lot of people out of the game. So like, I understand like for that reason also. Like, I don't think it was just the synchros. I think it was the synchros also. Like I remember being around that time and like people being like, synchro monsters in the fusion deck, you can't have that, and you know, people doing the whole like, Yugi Boomer stuff.
Yeah, well, it was called the fusion deck. Yeah.
Well, when Synchros came out, it was then shifted to the extra deck. But yeah, I remember when people were like getting upset about that and stuff. And
then after Teledad, we have Blackwing's Dark Strike Fighter, Light Sworn, Rescue Cat.
A lot of crazy stuff comes out.
Yeah.
And then we have Edison.
Yeah, which is
Literally,
balanced.
this is why Edison is popular.
Yeah.
I wasn't around for it. My first format was that I played competitively was Plant Synchro, but I heard that everybody was like, "Oh, Light Sworn's going to be tier 1," but then like there was always a deck that was stronger than it, and it took like a while for things to finally get hit enough that Light Sworn finally took over.
Well, Light Sworn's interesting because like there's always the randomness aspect to Light Sworn. Yeah. It's like a lot of people don't necessarily like how dependent it is on mills. I do think it's gotten a lot of like for instance in Edison there's Christia Sworn, which is like a very good deck. You could argue that's the Christia aspect. The Light Sworn aspect does make it a lot more explosive, and so Light Sworn's are very interesting. I'm very excited to. I've got a lot of a soft spot for like the GX archetypes, like around Strike of Neoson. Like I did a lot of neat stuff that they were trying to do there. That's just fun to explore, even if it's not necessarily the best. So I'm really looking forward to that. So
Dark World.
Yeah, Dark World.
I don't know if somebody was guessing or if they were actually answering me earlier, but I did confirm the first ever TCG exclusive was Strike and Neos, Grandmaster of the Six Samurai.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Knew it.
It's crazy given
I knew it because that was like a European thing. That was like a big thing in Europe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's
Faro Tour.
I mean, that is the I can't even imagine 6M without Grandmaster. So that's really neat. That's really neat to
It's very, very, very slow.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I mean, like Six Samurai back then, it was like a controversial deck because people said like, it's not really consistent, and the people who win with that, they only win because they cheat, you know. But that's IRL issues, IRL drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to test out the deck when I get to Strike and Neoson. Like I've got a soft spot for 6M around that time. Like I know they don't really become crazy in the game until like, you know, far into the 5Ds era.
Right.
But I do have some like I tinkered with the deck at the time and I've got some neat ideas to try out when I reach that point. But that'll be quite some time. I still got a fair amount of DM left to go, and I've still got a lot of formats to host locals in for the future. So get excited for that. Next week, I think I'm going to try experimenting with the day that I hold the locals, partially because I'm going to be out of town near the end of the week. So Friday won't actually work for me this time.
Yeah.
But also just to see.
I DM'd. I DM'd Ellie, for example, if they want to play because it's Yugi-Kaiba and it's our favorite format, but like they couldn't make Friday.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try it
So-
earlier in the week. Maybe Monday, maybe
Right.
I'll probably like figure it out. I'll figure it out over the weekend so that way people know when we're gonna hold it. And then I'll also do like the time voting thing that I normally do. And yeah, so hopefully people will like the new time and get some new faces in there. And I think I'm actually going to probably try and get a treasure local going because I know that has got a lot of hype behind it because treasure's a really fun format and a lot of cool stuff you can do in treasure. So we'll see if
Yeah, it
people
makes
like
sense. Like, yeah, right now treasure is kind of like your thing, like the thing that's like unique or like kind of a flagship format for this server.
Yeah, it was the first one that Format Library didn't
Yep.
really cover, and now they do cover it, so that's cool to see. It hadn't really gotten much activity in Format Library, unfortunately. I would
Yeah,
try.
but right now in
Jar
format
and
library,
treasure.
it's
Yeah.
like the problem with every format. Like the only thing that's really consistently popular in format library is Edison, and everything else has kind of been, outsourced to dedicated servers and
Yeah.
third-party servers.
Which is unfortunate, but I mean they
it's a
still hold
service.
tournaments there, so it's still fun. And yeah, maybe a
They're
treasure
trying.
tournament, maybe an Ellie Tin Can Cup in treasure at some point. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, maybe, but like Eddie is a little bit different. Busy, I
Yeah,
think.
so-
Like there are not that many ETCs like they used to be.
Yeah, but maybe
But-
someday. So we'll see.
We'll see.
And there's
You know-
there's always the chance that I'll hold another monthly tournament in treasure at some point in the future. We're probably gonna like
Definitely.
keep marching forward with the monthly tournaments, like to later formats. But
Mm.
I do
How
like looking
many
at
Oh,
times-
now that you mention it, let's not forget. Like Kesha said, they want to host a Joey Pegasus tournament, like the next
Jinzo
Jinzo
Jackers
Jackers.
too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll make sure not to host Joey Pegasus next month for our
Right,
monthly tournament. So
right.
maybe that's
And
We
we'll
perfect.
go-
haven't
we'll
covered
make
Jar
sure-
yet,
Play that.
or those monthly tournaments. We haven't done Jar yet, so we can avoid Joey Pegasus for Jar.
Well, so I'm avoiding the formats that are generally like the unlimited formats because I feel like they'll be less popular on a monthly level. I'm planning on covering them for like locals. I think they'd be fun for like a
Yeah, they
local
should
thing.
definitely. Yeah.
Probably.
So
a
I
bit tough,
probably
yeah.
will not play any of them.
I will surely play those.
Yeah, no, I know that Claude
I
is
might
gonna
play
be.
Lon.
Yeah, I mean,
But the rest of them remind me too much of OCG.
that's fair. Yeah. But Clody has the chance to just claim the locals winner title forever. Like they won last locals. They could win this locals. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
I got to make a locals
Don't
legend
jinx it.
so and award that.
Yeah.
To Cody. But anyway, it is getting pretty late. We've been streaming for almost 3 hours here. I think it's been a blast, but all good things must come to an end. So I'm probably gonna call the stream to a close. But thank you all for
Everyone-
hopping
If we
in.
wait 3 minutes, we can get to 3 hours.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Hayabusa,
we could,
Hayabusa, Hayabusa.
yeah, we could just discuss the Hayabusa strats. I'm planning on playing a Hayabusa Joey Pegasus deck soon, so that video should be out next week. And I guess I'll use this 3 minutes, or not necessarily 3 minutes, but however long. If you're watching this stream and you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. At the start of the stream, we were just under 700. We were like one away, so maybe
Hi,
we'll
Mom.
be able to hit. Are
Hi,
we at
Mom.
700?
I'm doing fine.
Okay. Yeah, so if we could reach 700
Not
soon,
yet.
uh,
He said call me tomorrow.
well, you could mute yeah, so if we could reach 700, that would be
Maybe.
great. And yeah, so I'd really like to reach 750 by the end of July. And yeah, I mean, that would be cool. Eventually, I'd like to get monetized, which is at 1,000. So, but little steps first
Oh.
to get to there.
1,000 subs?
Yeah,
Your
1,000
watch out.
subs.
That's not that far away.
It's not
yeah,
that
that's
far.
not that
It's
far
not-
away.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting there. We're getting there.
we're getting there. So hopefully we
Uh,
can reach that. But yeah,
And like one statistic that has gone unnoticed is like you have 250,000 views all
oh
added
wow.
up, right? Something
Yeah, I
like
got a
that. You have
fair
a 250,000.
amount. Yeah, I got a
Yeah.
lot of watch hours too because videos are pretty long. So
Yeah, that's
people,
so crazy. That's pretty strong.
yeah, no, it's really cool to see how many people have responded to the channel, even if they don't already subscribe. But yeah, maybe I should do the thing that E3 Yu-Gi-Oh does, where they've got they've got a little counter in the bottom with the sub goal. So that was a bug.
Look, the only way you're gonna hit 750 by the end of the month, you got to pump some shorts out.
I do, and I'm planning on it because I'm gonna be out of town at the end of next week. So while I'm out of town, I figure that's the perfect time to get some shorts uploaded. So. I'm planning on diving back into that. I haven't done as many shorts lately because like the Android format shorts that I were doing like didn't really perform that well. So I figured the shorts only worked for like Yugi-Kaiba or things like that. But I got some ideas for Yugi-Kaiba. This Locals will potentially give me some more Yugi-Kaiba content to do for the shorts.
Do you have like insights in what are the reasons for like
I don't know.
shorts that have quote unquote
it's
quote
kind of,
unquote have gone viral?
Yeah, like
It's
kind of
like
tough
data?
to determine between the two. I think the title does help. Like, the more like clickbaity the title, it could like Yugi-Kaiba players are using this one like strange card. That video did like pretty
seemingly terrible card.
Yeah, seemingly terrible card. Like that video.
That
did,
reminds me so much. Yeah, that reminds me so much of ACP, like Go Duels, because he also uses this kind of like style. And like he posted something today where he said like for the last videos, this were the top search queries that people use to find this video.
Yeah.
So do you have these statistics too?
I don't. I should look into
missed
that.
this,
I don't think I.
Rain Dance is very.
So like he thinks about it very much like in a like data analysis kind of way. Like how can I optimize?
Yeah. So I need to do more of that.
flow.
I need to get into the data analytics side of things. But it is now
Like
10. We've been streaming for 3 hours.
All right.
So yeah. So
it is 4 a.m. man.
I know. Yeah. I'll let you Europeans get to sleep. And probably some Americans too, as it is pretty late. But thanks for stopping by in the stream as always. And I'll see y'all next time. So peace.
Bye bye.
Got a
Bye.
clickbait title in the comments of the stream.